right. Well, welcome back to another edition of Inside BBI with John and Eric. I'm John McDevitt. Of course, with me, senior editor of Big Blue Interactive, Mr. Eric Kennedy. And Eric, before we get into any of the football stuff, I'm just going to ask you, how you doing?
Ah, bad. What the hell was that? We'll get into it, but holy hell.
Oh,
Holy hell.
yeah,
Man,
we've
it's
got.
bad. It's bad. And it's gonna impact what we're doing, and I have some thoughts on that too. So this is
Yes.
gonna be well, let's get into it. We'll
Yeah.
let me start. So
So before we do that, I just want to do a couple of house cleaning tips. First thing, what we're drinking tonight is, again, I'm going with the Common House Ale Works Pale Ale from Park Circle here in South Carolina. That's the one I had last time. I don't know what do you have on
I've
tap
got the
here?
Perlenbacher Pilsner. I guess that's in tribute to the eventually upcoming Germany game, which that'll be a joy. Panthers
Nice.
and
Yes.
Giants in Germany. Boy, the NFL knows how
You're
to treat the Europeans to some fine football. But
you're welcome, Europe.
yes,
You're
so
welcome.
looks like we've picked a bad week to
Nice.
start
So
sipping glue.
so a
Stop
couple
sipping glue.
a couple other things really cool. We are 9 subscribers away from 500, and that's when we'll do the mini helmet giveaway. So we're almost there. And between across the platform, so YouTube, Spotify, Amazon, Pocket Cast now, iHeartRadio, I think that's all of them. We've passed 12,000 views so far. So that's a big woohoo. And then I did a little short. We did the short video where Stella made her picks. And if you didn't see the short video, Stella is a miniature Australian Shepherd and Poodle mix. And I did a little quick video and ha ha ha. And she did her picks and she came 3 out of 5. So 3 out of 5 is not good enough. So damn it, we've replaced Stella. And starting this week, the Fit Chick from Instagram will now be our football picks of the week person. So we have that will be coming. So you're going to want to pay attention to that one when I get that video put up. So Eric, whew,
Oh, what's happening?
we've got some stuff to talk about, some crow to eat.
Yeah, before we start into this, my apologies. I still have this. I try to wear 2 hats, and one of the hats is still to be a little bit of a cheerleader. I'm not going to do that anymore. I apologize for last week in giving false hope and saying that when we were doing our picks that the Giants could win the NFC East. That's not happening, folks. That's not happening. I apologize. I got caught up in the what's going to happen with the Eagles and Cowboys talk, and obviously the Cowboys look pretty damn good. I don't know about the Eagles, but I apologize. I'm going to keep it straight from now on. I'm going to call it like it is. If you think you don't want pessimism, go someplace else. We got to call it like it is, and I apologize for that.
I'll be a little more middle of the road only because I was just shocked at, and we're going to get to all of that about how many pieces didn't work out because I still think we have talent. And there's a lot of things we'll talk about during this, but I will take a step back from, and you can go back and look in the videos. I said it multiple times. I still thought no matter what, the Giants were going to move on from Daniel Jones at the end of this year. But I also thought he would put up, comparatively speaking, 22 numbers, but with a better cast at receiver. So maybe more passing touchdowns, less rushing touchdowns, and it would be better. I will not be championing that anymore.
He's a broken quarterback. He's
broken.
broken. You can't fix this. The longer they stay with this shit, they deserve what they get. Just like Go Terps talked about today and others. The longer they go with this shit, the more they deserve. He's a broken man. I feel kind of bad for him, kind of not. He's getting paid well.
Right.
This isn't really on him at this point. If you want to get pissed off at somebody, what are we on now? We're on our 3rd coach with him now,
right,
and our 2nd general manager. And cue the post of the week when we do this. I have 3 candidates for post of the week. One from Homer Jones 45. I'm going to read this here. Jones is about to take down another administration. That boy has more pelts on his belt than Daniel Boone.
Woof.
And that's where we're at right now is, I mean, seriously. I mean, so look, I know it feels like piling on and people are going to get pissed, but he's broken. You can see it. I've seen enough football. I know when a quarterback's broken. I saw it with what happened with Jay Schrader. I've seen it with other quarterbacks. This guy is broken, and they're not going to be able to fix it. And if this was in a vacuum, you'd say, oh, it's the opener. Let's not make too much out of this. And I want to make that caveat too, is I have long said too much is made out of the opening game.
Correct.
Every year, every season, but this is not in a vacuum. This is year 6, and we went through this crap last year at the beginning of the year too. So this isn't just Daniel Jones. I'm going to get into that. This is much bigger now than Daniel Jones. We got Daniel's broken, but something else is broken. This franchise is broken, and we're going to have to get into that because it is bad. I will make the statement, and I don't think this is hyperbole. I really don't. What does the date November 19th, 1978 still mean to you? You said you saw it.
Oh yeah, it's the fumble. It's the fumble.
I think this was the modern day fumble. I really do. And you're gonna get a lot of people out there say, no. This fan base has lost complete faith in this franchise at a level not seen since that time. And it's just a culmination of 10 years, 12 years of shit football and tripling down on Daniel Jones. And it took only one drive before the Boo Birds came out, and that stadium turned as I thought it might when I wrote an article back in November on the risk of tripling down on Daniel Jones. The fan base is they're done. They were done in 78, and they're done now. And if Mara doesn't understand that, again, the whirlwind's coming on this one. I mean, we're going to see. You've seen empty stadiums before. We're going to see empty stadiums in September if they get beaten by Washington next week. Holy hell! So, anyways,
so yeah, because I think we want to circle back to this part, which is the bigger picture, long term, and let's start with the game.
There's a lot to talk about here.
Oh, there is a ton. Let's start with the game and the first drive. So the Giants received the kickoff, and they immediately start. And it's the one thing that I think at this point in time I'm getting really kind of tired of. They start with a run between the tackles, and it's almost invariably every game a run between the tackles. We start the game off. It got a couple of yards, nothing major. Then the second play, and this is the one that immediately red flags popped up for me. It's a quick little drop back. Jones looks around and he immediately turns to his left, looking for, I believe Singletary was the back in the backfield, and Jones throws it.
He can't throw a fucking swing pass.
It goes right into the ground.
Goddamn game, he couldn't even throw a goddamn swing pass.
It goes right into the ground, and that's
Jesus
something we'll
Christ.
come back to.
I mean, and that wasn't the only time in the game he did that.
No.
I mean, he can't even complete the simplest passes. And I shouldn't say that. That's a little more than a simple pass, but you got to be able to complete that pass. I mean, that was ridiculous. I mean, again, I'm interrupting you. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. No, because you're saying exactly what I'm thinking.
The thing is this: you and I had this discussion about are they going to throw deep or are they going to keep it short and do the yak at the yards after catch yardage? Well, numbnuts can't hit the goddamn short throws to even get the yak. If it's so offline that they have to like readjust, and they can't even run with the ball. And the play you're talking about, the receiver fell down because the pass was so bad. I mean, so I don't know what they were doing with the game plan. We'll get into that too. But yeah, sorry. Anyway, so
no, you're fine.
If
so
he can't throw the short passes, and he can't throw and he won't throw the long passes, what are we doing? Why is he in there?
So we had to be careful that we didn't take too much from Houston, right? We had to be like, okay, he was a little rusty. We didn't use that as the excuse, but that's the general stand. Oh, he hasn't played in a long time. Okay. It was a bonehead play in terms of where he chose to throw the ball in Houston. I didn't get a lot of bonehead plays of where to throw it here until later. It was literally the actual act of throwing the ball. His trajectory, he's a 6'5" quarterback. His trajectory for the balls, they are constantly heading downward. When Wan'Dale Robinson has to squat to catch it, he's the shortest freaking receiver on the team.
All right, but let's take a step back. The canary in the coal mine was this. You had one of the Vikings defenders say before the game, it was on Friday or whatever,
Ivan Pace,
laughing at us, saying we're not going to be able to do anything. They were laughing at the Giants. Okay.
Right.
And I'm like, oh God, you got to make this idiot pay.
Right.
But they didn't. They scored 6 points, and it was pathetic. And he wasn't talking because he didn't think much of Malik Neighbors, and it wasn't because he didn't think much of Andrew Thomas, and it wasn't because he didn't think much of Devin Singletary. It's because he didn't think much of the goddamn quarterback. And the goddamn quarterback did exactly what the Vikings thought they were going to do, and they laughed about it. I guarantee you they laughed about it. And then you had the head coach of the Vikings after the game talking about how they were so much better prepared than the Giants and in better shape than the Giants, and they executed better than the Giants. I've never heard a team put that. I mean, I'm sure that they have those sound bites all the time, but other teams usually don't put that out. If you've noticed, those speeches in the locker room are usually heavily edited. You see it, they cut in and cut out. The Vikings didn't think anything about putting that out there.
I think
they basically are laughing at the Giants.
They had a reason to, they lost at home in the playoffs to us 2 years ago, essentially. Now at this point, 2 seasons ago,
right?
There's a little payback, and I don't think it was just they were talking about their team. I don't think O'Connell is just talking about our team's prepared. I think it was very specific about we were more prepared. We are in better shape. It was literally the shot at them. It was talking about the Giants very specifically, and I think it had something to do with it.
There's an immense amount of disrespect. But they deserve it.
Oh,
Jesus Christ!
You're allowed to.
The Giants have done 2 things that, and again, I apologize for going off on the tangent. We'll get back on. The Giants have done 2 things that are kind of impossible. They've taken a franchise that in 2011, 13 years ago, was coming off its 4th Super Bowl, its 8th title. They've turned this franchise into a fucking joke in 13 years. And they have these wonderful trophies on display at Quest Diagnostic, and everything looks great with the practice field with all the banners and all that crap. But this team has turned it's like what Disney did to Star Wars. They've done this to one of the flagship franchises. They've turned this team into a joke, and at the micro level, they have now turned into an art form and killing a season in the opening game. How the hell do you kill a season in the opening game? But they've done it 2 years in a row. They've killed the season already. Everybody's already given up. Now, maybe they go on a run and we look like idiots again a month.
I'm willing to risk that.
Maybe that. I don't think that's. I don't think that's.
I'm willing to risk that.
I mean, if you look at the schedule after the Redskins, and if they don't beat the Commanders, if
that's
they don't
all right.
beat the Commanders, this is gonna. We're gonna get into this because this is gonna spiral out of control.
Yeah,
I know where this is going. I'm gonna make it not bold because I think it's a pretty easy prediction to know where this is going. But how the hell we've gone from the season's over by Halloween to now the season's over after the first game of the season? I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, that's how bad this is right now. How do you go back to back like this and get wiped out like this against a team? Again, the Vikings are no powerhouse. No. This is ridiculous. And they lost the goddamn Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold was 11 out of 11. His first incomplete pass came with about like a minute left in the first half. Sam Darnold.
Right.
So let's not just talk about Daniel Jones here, but the team feeds off the quarterback too.
But
really
I will,
and the whole stadium. The players hear the stands. They know what was going on. They heard that, and the doubt is in their minds too. So anyway.
So one thing I'll say to that, and I want to focus on that a little bit later as we move off the quarterback thing, but we can't move it off it yet.
No, we can't. No.
So I watched it again this morning. I watched it on the condensed replay piece. I watched the whole thing. I haven't seen the all 22 yet. There were at least 5 to possibly 8 different plays that were missed that would have brought the drives forward, or in one case would have been a field goal attempt versus a punt. So when we were going into halftime, people you need to remember it was 14, what was it? 14-3, 14-6 at halftime. So a field goal is 3 at halftime. Yeah. Field goal would have been 14-6 at halftime, right, or possibly depending on how that went, because it would have been close enough. So it was a pass over the middle that Jones just absolutely just put it in the ground. If you just hit Wandell where he had it, you give him a tiny bit of chance to maybe break tackles, but at least we are maybe within 3 to 4 of either going for it on fourth or certainly kicking a field goal that Gano can make from that distance. Instead, we had to punt. There were multiple times in that first half where the passes just were down. Wandell made a great catch across the middle, but he had to stop and reach back on a pass. If it just hits him in the chest, you and I talked about this very early on. We talked about it in one of our first videos. We talked about it after the Lions video. We talked about it after the Houston video. Jones's biggest problem to me is not the deep passes per se. It is the ones across or the ones to the outside where he does not hit the receiver in any sort of movement forward. It's they're either stopping or they're coming, they have to reach back or down, and it kills any momentum, yard after catch, which we said would be important, that it might be a de facto running game early on to help out. It's impossible. He makes it impossible. He does not put the ball where they can keep moving forward. And in this past game, this is where it got worse. This is where I became like, oh shit, this is really bad. He's just making it where they can't even catch it now. It is literally coming up short. They're short hopping it. They might as well be playing between freaking well, I'm using a Red Sox thing. Sorry about that. I was going to say Wade Boggs and Marty Bear. Doesn't matter. Pick a Yankee combo. I don't give a shit. He'd be a shortstop. All of his passes across the middle were down and into the ground. Guys were going down to try to get it. It was so bad that at one point I started to think, is he physically broken? I don't mean mentally. Is he physically broken?
I don't know. I mean, I don't even really feel like, and we have to. I don't feel like we're even really talking about it anymore. He's broken. I don't know if it's physically, mentally, or whatever. He's a broken quarterback. He's not good. The league knows it. We and fortunately the Giants front office, they probably can't see the forest through the trees at this point, and we were guilty of that for a long time, except for the ones that were right, the people that were right. You said from the very beginning. Look, they didn't do him any favors, but I'm not going to lean on it. The play calling was bizarre. There was too many penalties. There were a couple of a few drop passes. But I only rewatched the game until the interception for the pick six, because everything after that, to me, it was like, why am I watching and everything? Because the game was over at that point. And I think you can, and the teams that are up by that much have fun, and the teams that are down by that are just looking to go home. So I wasn't going to pay attention to that. But when the game was still on the line, when it was 7-3, 14-3, 21-6, that's when I was paying attention, and there were a couple drops and things like that. But
the interception does.
Side, but the Minnesota was in those situations too. And that's when I talk about the defense. When we talk about the defense, they were the Giants got the Vikings in all three scoring drives that they had. The Giants had them behind the chains, and they let them off the hook.
Sure,
they let them off the hook. But once they got Daniel Jones into that situation, it was over, because he won't throw the ball down the field. And what you're talking about, when he threw short, he was throwing into the dirt, and the pass protection was so, but it wasn't like it was last year.
It wasn't horrible.
I'm convinced they'll get better as the year goes along. There were a couple of things that I was like, he didn't have great protection, but his pocket awareness was shit. I mean, it was just crap, and he ran into things that he shouldn't have run into. He's just not playing with any confidence. You can just watch it. He's not playing with any confidence. The rest of the team's picking up on that. The fans are picking up on that. The fans aren't stupid. They see what's going on. They knew. They didn't come to the game just to boo Daniel Jones. They didn't. But it's 3rd and 19 on the first drive or whatever it was. Give me a break. I mean, anyway, sorry.
No, you're fine. And so I think
more beer.
I think what we need to do though is we need to separate the go forward with the game, just with the game review. I know the game's kind of, because I'm still of the mindset, and I've thought I watched the whole thing.
I want to do both. I
got you.
I want to do both.
I watched the whole thing again this morning, and I still believe after watching the whole thing, you could substitute, you put Darnold behind on our side of the field, and we beat the Vikings. I think Darnold played well enough for the Vikings. He just hit his guys that he needed to. And that's all you had to do with us. Just hit that short pass to pick up the 7-8 yards. Now you've got third down and short. Instead, it's third and long. And now you're having to do.
Remember what I said to you last week when we did the preview show? I said this could go one of two ways
Yes.
with Daniel. And I said to you, what if Sam Darnold looks infinitely better than Daniel? And I'm not trying to say you're wrong, but you were saying, well, it doesn't matter. Well, it did matter because Jesus Christ, Sam Darnold's on his fourth team.
It wasn't even close.
Now you're wondering, which we should have signed him in the offseason, and he should be the starting quarterback right now. I mean, Go Terps made that point earlier today. He said you could have gotten Justin Fields, you could have gotten Sam Darnold. The problem is right now, first of all, I'd bench Jones right now. There's no reason to Jones play another snap in the
Well, they're actually
we'll get to that in a second, but I don't care if the other two guys are worse. I know what we have in Jones, and there's the injury risk. I'm done, and the team's done, and the fans are done.
So the financial piece of it, because we're just going to do this the way we would normally do. We're just talking. No. We're just talking. The financial piece of it kept the Giants really. You can't go Fields just because now you've got another guy that might want a contract, and he's not really any.
Could have done. No, I disagree. Look,
Fields is not the kind of guy. I totally disagree. Fields is not a guy that you would bring in to do this. I would much rather have Locke be the guy.
The point is this: is Daniel Jones. They need to move on from Daniel Jones sooner than later, and I don't care who. They could put a chair in there right now, and the chair would be better now.
But in all honesty, and be honest, because I'll say it too, you and I didn't think that this is what we would see. We're not necessarily thinking we would have saw 3 touchdowns.
I was afraid. I was afraid this would happen. I wrote about it in November. I convinced myself that, Jim, what are they calling it on BBI? 1925 Giants way.
Yeah.
Convinced myself that if you surround him with an offensive line, number 1 wide receiver, he will be all right. He might not be great, but he'll be all right. He's not all right. He's terrible. And my wife knows it.
I agree.
She goes, "Why the hell do we keep drafting quarterbacks from Duke? You don't draft quarterbacks from Duke." My wife knows this shit. I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, John, I'll say this. It's
sure.
There's a PR component here too, and they have tied. I'm going to use my second, and you can use again. We're going to use our graphic here of posts. I have 3 posts of the week. I know I'm only supposed to have 1.
That's all right.
If I can bring this up, where the hell did I put it?
I mean, you're just giving me a lot of extra work when I go to do it.
Yes, I know. There's going to be 3 places here. So the other one was. All right, make your point while I'm doing this, so we don't waste time here.
I know that's fine. I did not think. I was naive to think that maybe he could maintain 22 just with better players, which means. But I always said he's not the guy, and in fact, you even said to me, "Are you sure that the Giants aren't going to stay with him after this year if he does that?" And I was like,
right.
"Yeah, I think they already decided that they would move on." I think this year was just. The contract is the way the contract is, and they knew they were moving on it. And I think that's still true because Shane's still looking, and they were still looking. What I don't understand, though, is they must have seen what we saw in the game. They must have seen against the Jets or in practice or against the Lions in practice. You must have seen moments when he just seemed shell-shocked or the passes just aren't there, but maybe...
You'd hope, but John C. keeps talking about it, and he has for a long time. They don't seem to know how to self-scout themselves. I mean, so part of the problem you and I have, and other fans who were clinging on for any kind of hope here, was we're fans, they're the experts, they must know what the hell they're doing. They must see something or know something. We don't know anything. People were dissing Bob Papa before earlier on the site, and I think with good reason, because he mocked fans on internet bulletin boards and dig at BBI about we don't know what we're talking about because we're just peon little fans. Well, guess what, Bob? The Giants fucking suck. Daniel Jones fucking sucks. and you were wrong, and the people that were saying you guys don't know what you're doing were right. And I take no pleasure in saying that. I mean,
keep in mind we were
woke
trying to
up
walk
this
a
morning.
fine line.
When the Giants lose and I wake up, there's that brief moment of bliss that I didn't remember the game,
Yeah,
and then I go, oh my God, the game, and and again, a lot of us Giants fans live and breathe this shit because we enjoy sports, but
sure.
there are more and more fans. And this is what I wanted to get to, the PR element. So there's a PR element to this, and then there's the on-field element. So the Giants were never going to go to the Super Bowl this year, but they've got to convince fans that they're moving in the right direction. No fan right now believes, and this is why I'm equating this with the fumble now. No fan believes this team is moving in the right direction. This was a catastrophe for the team in this sense, beyond Daniel Jones. Fans have decided, and this is what I wrote about in November. Fans have decided that Schoen and Daboll don't know what the hell they're doing, and they now know because this is yet another regime that they feel has failed. That the goddamn owner doesn't know how to hire the right people because
Right.
we've gone through McAdoo, we went through Shermer, we went through Judge, and now we're on Daboll, and now we're on our third GM after if you include Reese. This is a disaster for the team because and I don't think they know it yet because the fans have lost complete faith in this franchise to do anything competently. They really do. And the other quote I wanted to use here was from the Jake, and he said, I love this one. Brian Daboll refuses to remove the anvil that is tied around his neck while he's drowning. And that's kind of how I'm seeing Daniel Jones right now is
Do you think
he's himself to Daniel Jones, and the fans, as long as he has Daniel Jones, he's connected to him, the fans think Daboll's an idiot. So but Daboll's got to bench him.
Do you think he's making
dead.
that choice on his own? Yeah, yes or no? Is he making that choice on his own?
Yes, because I would go into the owner because look, how many Giants head coaches have been fired here and have gone on to get other head coaching positions? Daboll's career is at stake here.
Oh, I agree.
I mean, I'm talking about the Giants. I'm talking about his future career. He may get an offensive coordinator position down the road, but I mean, this is bad. I mean, right now, he came to this team's the quarterback whisperer. Right now, the narrative is shifting completely, which may be 100% correct, that the quarterback in Buffalo made Daboll. That Daboll wasn't very good. I mean, even though that he had, I mean, look, when the Giants hired Schoen and Daboll, they were both sort of at a lot of people's must hire or must interview list.
Sure.
So they didn't come out. Judge came out of nowhere. No one was expecting Joe Judge when he came out here.
No,
a lot of people were saying Daboll was long overdue and that he was bright, and his receivers and players around the NFL said what a great mind he is. We didn't see that yesterday either, and we'll get into that. But right now, it's looking like he and Schoen can't even self-scout or judge themselves. They tied themselves to Daniel Jones, and they're still tying themselves to Daniel Jones. I don't think the owner's telling them they can't bench him. If they are, he should call him out on it because his career's at stake. What does he have to lose? If they fire him, he'll be like, "Thank God I'm out of this mess."
Well, that's the question I wanted to ask you, because you can definitely pick up on some folks posting that they feel that this is all John Mara's guy.
I don't believe that anymore. I don't believe that anymore. I don't,
because the fact of the matter is, Schoen and Daboll were part of the decision to give I still think, and I'm not going to change my mind, that the Barkley situation, that was the one that Mara was somewhat involved in, that the Giants did. So then Schoen and Daboll did what they had to do to make sure they kept their quarterback, because I don't think they cared as much about keeping Barkley. I don't think they cared about keeping Barkley.
The problem with that theory, and I've said the same thing, I agreed with you before, but the problem with that theory is say they came to a contract with Barkley before the deadline, they probably still give Jones that contract. I hope they wouldn't, but would they have franchised him?
I think they would have
wanted them to, but I mean, right now I'm like, so there's a guy on the website.
Because wait, but the one thing I'll say to that is, if your theory is true, then they would have already given that contract to Jones to begin with, or they would have already given Barkley the money he wanted. This went up to the last 5 minutes of before tag needed to happen, and they weren't getting it done. So they weren't offering Barkley the money that he wanted,
But
and they
maybe
weren't
they
and they weren't
overpaid
offering
Jones.
Jones.
Maybe they overpaid Jones at the last minute to get that deal done so they could
So
franchise.
they franchised Barkley. That's
I mean,
exactly how they.
I don't know what happened there. Look, the long story short is they mismanaged the situation. We could go debate why it happened.
Sure.
The bottom line is that's kind of what I don't want to spend too much on the specifics. And there are some things I want to talk about in the game, but I don't want to spend too much of it because right now we got to start talking in bottom line things. We can say it happened because of XYZ. We are where we're at right now, and we got to admit the truth that this is not a good situation. And I'm starting to care less about the details of why we're there and more about that what
How
we're
are you going to
there.
get out of it?
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
we should get into it. I'm very frustrated. I did
Yeah.
not see this coming. Okay,
No.
I could have seen losing to the Vikings. I could have. But I didn't see another. This is like the Dallas game last year. I mean, it wasn't as well, in a lot of ways, it was. I mean, the game was over. The game was over in the third quarter. I mean, it was really what
This
the game was over in the third quarter, and they took it, and the rest. So about a quarter and a third of a quarter was spent on just getting the goddamn game over. I mean, it was that bad. And it was the
this
opening game. It was and they had the legends of the past there.
that's
The
different.
crowd came out and it's opening day, 100th anniversary, and they put that shit product out on the field. And
So
one thing
this,
I don't want to get one other thing because you were talking about it and I rudely cut you off.
no, no, no. But I want to
Just,
wait. I want to say one thing to what you just said.
yeah.
This is equal to the Dallas game, but not the Dallas game that you're talking about. This is equal to the Dallas game in 1995 when the Giants
Oh
trotted
yeah,
out.
that was
They had
terrible
that
too.
celebration, and we
Oh
got
yeah.
absolutely obliterated. The
My
reason,
father kept calling me up during that game. He goes, "Are you watching this shit?" And he said, "Oh, there goes Emmett Smith again." You know,
and the reason I
Dad, I
say
don't want to talk right now. You know.
the reason I say that is because last year we drove down the field. There was some weird crap happen, and then we go for the field goal, and then Thomas gets hurt, and then it was almost like a snowball of bad stuff. And all the little things that could have gone wrong, the things we were worried about, the offensive line paper thin. Anything happens to Thomas, we're in big trouble. It happened. Waller was already injured going into the game. That was a huge problem. So those things and Dallas, we just always seem to lose to Dallas. This is Minnesota.
Yeah.
With a revamped defense. I don't give a shit what they did last year. They lost Danielle Hunter. They're replacing these guys. They're not great at all in the secondary. One of their draft picks died before he ever even got to play. They were thin in the secondary. We had all the young guys. This was our time. We had the 100-year anniversary, the ceremony. We have all these, the stars are there, the past, all weekend long. It was this huge celebration. And then you lay a freaking egg against a team you could have and probably should have, being all those things considered, and at home should have beaten. This is far worse than last year's Dallas game.
Well, the thing is they didn't look. I mean, the Vikings called us out. We didn't look prepared again. We did not look prepared. We didn't look ready to play. There were drop passes. There were penalties. We had 9 penalties for almost 100 yards. There were drop passes. So we were behind the sticks a lot of times. Daniel Jones couldn't complete a damn pass, and they looked so. And Daboll admitted they crossed them up. He said they expected them, as was their
Come heavy, yeah.
MO, to blitz the hell out of. So they max protected it a lot, and they didn't do that. They rushed 4 and dropped a bunch of people in coverage, and the Giants couldn't handle it. And it wasn't so much that, again, you would have liked the offensive line to do better against that kind of setup. And I think they will. I don't think it was a disaster. I don't think all those sacks were on them, but there was some pressure that we shouldn't have had. But they weren't prepared for that, and they never adjusted to that, and they got a decent enough rush by dropping 7 and covering. And that's kind of what the Giants wanted to do, and the Giants weren't able to do it, and the Vikings were able to do it. In other words, the Vikings did the defense that Shane Bowen wants to run, and it worked for them, and it didn't work for us. We'll get into that in a second, too.
Right.
But they were able to rush 4 on us and drop, and we never really adjusted to that. And I don't. So in a lot of cases, you say, well, you run the ball at them in that kind of situation, but the scoring started getting out of hand too. And what the hell was with those? You talked about this, and I thought you were right. We thought they weren't going to have a lot of design runs for Jones because of his injury situation. And what did they do in the first half? They have 3 design runs for Jones.
Two of them
Two of them back to back.
Two of them are power runs
Near midfield when we needed points.
They literally pulled the guard and pulled the tackle. They ran power with your quarterback coming off an ACL and with a neck, and you're running those kind of. I was like, what are you doing?
What are you doing? And if they don't trust Jones, get him out of there. What are you doing? If you don't trust him, this is my problem right now. And this is my third post of these transitions are great, by the way. They're just popping in my head. I don't have all right, Giants grit.
I'm getting overtime for this one.
Really shit on Jones all off season, who I was already done with, only to run it back with him. Wait, got the rest of this cut off. He's not good, and any confidence he had left was gone. The moronic employee. That's moronic employee management. Okay, so what Giants grit is getting at is this: is through Hard Knocks, they told the world they don't want Daniel Jones.
Correct.
And then we had that picture, that wonderful press conference, and if you can put that picture up later, where Jones is all crazy, bug-eyed.
Yeah, Betty Davis.
I think, again, that wasn't like one instant. The whole press conference was like that, and I think he was in a state of shock at that moment because he realized that the team doesn't have any faith in him. So they basically they're playing a quarterback right now. He knows they don't have faith in him. So of course he's going to play like shit. And again, I'm not saying Daniel Jones would play better. Maybe he would. Slightly better. But what I'm saying is, and Giants grit was getting at this. It's a Mickey Mouse show right now because they're playing a quarterback that the other teams laugh at, and their own management wants to replace. Do
you remember coming
in? What are they doing?
Coming into the game, you talked about people have to get used to. We were talking about the Giants defense. People are going to have to get used to a mindset, because we're so young, of a bend don't break defense, where we're going to allow teams. You're going to have to make lots and lots of plays, to go down the field, because we're going to bend.
I'm glad you're bringing this up. Yeah,
that's what Minnesota did to us, because they don't believe we can make the plays, and it was there to be made.
And they did it. They did it to us on the other side of the ball, even though we got them behind the sticks on all 3 drives, and we'll get into that in a second. But yes, exactly, and that's the way they beat the Giants. That's the way to game plan the Giants every single week, and we're going to see it from here on out. Is they're going to make Daniel Jones drive the field on them, and they're going to say, this fucker is going to throw the ball into the turf, or he's going to throw a ridiculous interception on a bubble screen.
Right.
He's going to screw up. We just have to wait. Why in God's name are we going to do anything risky against them? Because they're going to beat themselves.
And you don't fear the RPO anymore, because Singletary's not going to rip them off.
Somebody made this great point too. I want to say this. BBI has been at its best this week.
Which is bigblueinteractive.com, by the way.
Yes, thank you. It's been at its best today. And I thought, it can go both ways in BBI after a loss. It can go like just endless, just whining. But today was actually really, it was a lot of criticism, but it was constructive, thoughtful criticism over and over and over again by many. There's so many great posts today, and I'm so proud of everybody on the website for putting thought into what they wrote today. And they really went above and beyond. But somebody made, and I apologize for not remembering, because there were so many great posts out there. But he was making the point that you just made. Daniel Jones, if you take the RPO stuff away from it and make him throw from the pocket, he can't beat you. He can't. Make him throw from the pocket, and he can't do it. And just play his running. The Minnesota Viking defender laughed at us before the game, because he knew Daniel Jones wasn't going to be able to do that. And what did we say all along? If Daniel wants to end this criticism once and for all, he's got to fix it. And he didn't fix it. He made it worse. So what are we doing? Why is he still in there?
We brought up I brought up the 22 piece, and I keep saying, here's what he did in 22 if he had better players. And I still believe in 22, if you put these players on the 22 team, we probably have a better offense in 22. This isn't 22, and he's not the guy in 22. But something to keep in mind, we started the season off 6-1 in 22. We averaged 21.43 points per game. From that time on, however, we averaged 17.39 points per game. And that trend, that goes all the way to now. That goes through last year into now. That means what they got from Jones early on and the way we generated the offense was to be very protective. It's a lot of the runs, short passes off the fake handoff to Barkley, roll, throw, or Jones keeps it, or did Barkley get it? Does Jones have it? We were able to do that for a while, but a lot of teams kind of caught on. We went, 3-7-1 for the last half of that season. We still made the playoffs, but it was not great offensively. Now, Barkley started to decline that year. I think he was, after the Houston game, was kind of beat up. But there's a trend, and it carried over into 23, but we didn't get to see it play out because A, all the stuff that happened early on, B, Jones got hurt. And once Jones got hurt, we never did get to see a full season of, is this really a trend that was going? What I saw yesterday, late in the game, the interception in the end zone, you're talking about the game's already over. I don't really care. I'm still thinking it matters to me because it's your thought process, the choices you make. It wasn't even like he's taking a high risk pass and I'm trying to get in. He's just going, he drops back. You watch it.
Are you talking about the bubble screen interception?
I'm talking about the interception thrown in the end zone to
Slayton. Oh, you're talking about at the end of, okay.
The game might be over to you. To me, it is not. Because
it's still, you're right, but it's just,
But go back and look at it.
No.
There's three guys on Slayton.
It's triple coverage.
Why are you throwing it there?
Look, we heard all summer in the right that points come out. Who was the guy who used to say this on ESPN all the time? Points come out of the passing game. Somebody used to say that, and it does, and it's chunk yardage. Okay, sure. So it's and that's how Minnesota did well. We'll get into that in a second. We heard all summer that they were going to throw the ball down the field more. And they don't have to do it all the time. They don't have to be Eric Coryell here. They can, they or not Eric Coryell, the old Oakland Raiders, that mad bombing.
Yeah. Back in the day,
They don't have to do that constantly. But we heard they were going to go throw the football down the field. They didn't do that.
I don't think they can.
They didn't do that the whole game. So the question is this: did they not do it because it was the game plan? Or did they not do it because Daniel Jones was afraid to do that? I don't know the answer to that. I really don't. My gut tells me Daniel won't pull the trigger. I hope that's what it is. But if it's not that, then we got a real. I don't think we'll get to this in a second. I don't think Daboll survives this, and I'll explain.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
I don't think Daboll and Schoen survive this. They tied the anvil. They're sticking with the anvil. It's going to drown them. And again, they did it to themselves. At this point, you can boo Daniel Jones all you want, leaving the stadium, whatever.
Let's get to that one later too.
He's a tragic figure at this point right now. Well, not tragic. He did it to himself too. But he's a symptom of a greater problem on this team. The greater problem on this team is the decision makers aren't making the right decisions. And Lisa can hear me, my wife. I can hear she's in the other room. She knows the quarterback sucks. She says she's been saying it. She's like, he sucks. You're not going to win because he sucked. She didn't watch the game. She goes, they're losing. They're getting crushed because Daniel Jones sucks. Was their first.
If we had lost though, if we had lost 30 to 35, 20, but Jones actually played decently, but they're just you just did what you could do. The fact of the matter is, I'll beat this horse into the ground. Watching it again, and we talked about this during the summer. A 7-yard pass that can keep you going where you get 11, 12 yards on a first down, keeps drives going, keeps the defense off, keeps their team. Now, there is one other thing I want to bring up about this that I'm It bothers me. It's always bothered me. And it seems to be very symptomatic of when you're struggling, this is how you do things. It was brought up on the broadcast, and I was screaming at the TV about going more up tempo. That's easy to say. That's not what I'm talking about. Why do we always take the play clock down to like 2 or 3 seconds before we snap it? You're asking the offensive linemen to stay in their stance for a very long time. For what purpose? And you do all this motion to then do nothing. I've never understood all this movement that does nothing. And so get out of the huddle. Fossil back in the day used to make a point. We want to get back. We want to get out of the huddle. We want to get to the line. We want to get up there and we want to get going. And that's momentum. You don't have to go no huddle.
I don't agree or disagree because we've gone with both. And I remember what you're talking about with Fossil. You're 100% correct. He used to say, get in and out of the huddle and don't do that. But then you've had other people say you need to use the motion. Look, I think if you have the quarterback, all that discussion goes away. If you execute,
that's a good point.
If you throw the point, if you complete the pass, we're not even having this conversation. What the sense I'm getting this is you're seeing Daniel double clutching throws all the time now. You're saying he doesn't look decisive. He doesn't look like he's sure where he wants to go with the football, and he dumps it off. And when he does dump it off, it's like the pass that you talked about, the 6. He was aiming that thing. He wasn't just
correct.
throwing, he was aiming it.
His footwork is horrible. Go back and look at the video. His feet are way off center. When he's turning his body, he's not. Look last night when the Rams were playing the Lions. Matthew Stafford is playing with a bad ankle. He's 34, 35 years old. This guy moves around and smooth throwing. Everything is compact. It's together. Even Jared Goff, for the love of God, a guy who's tall and stiff, he's more fluid than Jones. Jones is, I mean, we could beat it to his death, but everything about the way he throws the ball is completely broken. You said it. It's broken.
He's broken.
He's not the guy in his rookie year who threw 24 touchdowns. He doesn't look right at all. I don't know what the hell happened.
He's done. He's done. They don't know it yet. We know it. The Giants fans know it. The non-Giants fans know it. The Giants haven't figured it out yet. And if they haven't figured it out, I don't know what they're doing. So let's look at some. I do want to say one last thing.
Yeah.
The big problem is this, and it ties into Daniel Jones. God bless my wife. She's bringing me another beer because I need another beer.
Nice. I ran out of mine. Right, I'm going to be on water in a second.
Oh, she just said Daniel Jones sucks too.
This just in.
All right. Newsflash. All right.
I'm going to put a ticker across there.
All right. So when the games are over on the website, the first thing I do is start the post-game discussion thread. The second thing I do is go over to the schedule section and the game preview and reviews section, both which have the game scores. And I update the game scores, win, loss, this was the score. I've been doing it for 30 years now. The problem with the Giants is every time I update the scores, the Giants are under 17 points. And now it's often under 10. We don't score points. If you don't score points, you don't win games. And this team can't score points. And we didn't do it in the preseason, and we didn't do it. It's happening again. It happened last year. It happened the year before that. It goes before this current regime. If you can't score, you can't win, and that's where we're at right now. And I'm so tired of writing a 6 or a 13 in the points that the Giants have scored on a weekly basis. And until they fix that problem with a new coach and a new quarterback, the Giants are going to be a losing franchise because what you just said, we watch these other teams go up and down the field. There was another great post today. Oh God, I wish I could remember everyone who makes these posts. I'm sorry. There's so many great posts, but somebody said, does anyone get the feel like the Giants are living in a different, or playing a different sport, or living in a different era? Because it looks like we're not even playing the same goddamn sport as everybody else, because we don't seem to be caught up with everybody else. The rest of the league seems to be playing a different game than we are. And I'm not saying there aren't bad teams and there are teams that don't score, but I think the Giants are the only team yesterday that didn't score double digits. And Daniel Jones, I couldn't believe this. 2 people said this, so I'm assuming it's true. Daniel Jones has now thrown more pick sixes.
Correct.
He has touchdowns.
He's had 2 touchdown passes. If you go 23 into this year, 2 touchdown passes, 3 pick six scores.
What are we doing? What are we doing?
I
Well, I mean, at this point, look, because I want to talk about some of the other things, and I want to talk about where this team's going. But I do want to finish up. I want to talk about the defense, and I want to talk about where the team is going. But the offense is a mess, and I don't see an upside anymore to playing Daniel Jones. I see only a downside to playing Daniel Jones. There's a huge PR component to this as well, too. The fans don't want to waste any more time on this stuff. I'm not saying that DeVito's going to save the day or Locke's going to save the day, but at least give us something else to look at this point.
I'll say this. I know a lot of people said, why didn't they pull Jones in the game? I don't believe Brian Daboll, and I don't believe Giants management. Drew Lock was injured all the way up until the beginning of this week, and they still weren't sure.
So play DeVito.
But
the
see,
fans want to see
if
him,
you
or at
go
least
to
half
the third,
fans do.
if you go to the third guy, there's no way you'll ever go back to the first guy. And I don't think
I don't want to go back to the first guy.
I understand.
I don't want him ever throwing a football again in a Giants.
That's you, but that's you.
I don't want that anymore.
But that's not Daboll. I think his.
Well, then guess what, Daboll? You're gone. You're gone,
well,
you idiot.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing that I think.
You're gone.
I think is very. What I
if
think
they don't bench him after the Redskins, they're gone.
Well, see, I agree, but this is what I think is really weird, right? If you're worried about your job,
they should be.
But hear me out.
Yeah.
If you are worried about your job, why wouldn't you let Kafka still be the play caller and leave that as your out that I'm going to take it over next year? You've now taken it over, and it looked like shit. You are the head coach and the play caller now. You've got nobody to blame but you.
Because I don't think he thought much of Kafka as an offensive play.
That's fine. But if you don't think anything of Jones, who cares? Then you just let them both sink together. But instead, he took it on. That responsibility is now on him. You're the play caller and the head coach, and that's your quarterback.
Right.
You're sticking with him.
I think that part of it is a good point, but I think it's moot at this point, because if he ties himself to Jones, which they're quadrupling down on Jones now in my book. And again, it's like Go Terp said, good, bring it on, because they almost have to sink to the bottom here right now. This is really, really, really bad. And what I mean by this is this. There is an entire generation of Giants fans now. This isn't the 1960s and 1970s in this sense, when there weren't a lot of other options. People have a lot of other options out there.
Right.
Now, there's an entire generation of Giants fans, like my children, who don't give a crap about the Giants because it's bad. I mean, they're not even fun. They're not. I mean, they don't even.
They're boring. They're boring.
So there were times. All right, so I was born in '67, so I missed most of the. I didn't see the '60s, and I missed most of the '70s. Okay, but I went through some bad periods, like in the '90s. The Giants were at least in the football games. They were, even under Dan Reeves and God, even Hanley and even Fosco. I mean, there were blowouts, but they were at least in. Their highlight tapes used to be infamous because they'd be like, the Giants were up, in the fourth quarter in 6 of the 7 games they lost, or something like that. So we were in these games, and at least you felt it sucked, but at least you felt you were competitive. They're not even, and it's not just this regime, it's the 3 previous regimes. They're not even competitive anymore. It's embarrassing. So my kids and other kids out there aren't even watching this anymore. And this is an entire generation. We're talking 12, 13 years now. And the more time this goes on, they're not going to get these people coming back. So there was a time, and the Redskins, again, were the canary in the coal mine, because they're kind of ahead of us on this. Snyder ruined that team, and the Redskins fan base turned into a moronic rabble that they used to be pretty good fans, but their fans gave up on them after a quarter century of Snyder's crap. And we're going to get there soon too. It's going to be like, we don't care anymore. Now Wellington was able to survive this because it was a different era. I think John, if John thinks he can survive this, he's got another thing coming, because again, I run a Giants website, and my 2 children could give a shit about the Giants.
Yeah.
They want to. But why? They don't want to waste their time. And now you're seeing people our age going, why am I watching this?
Right.
Why am I exposing myself to this? It's beautiful out there today. It's a great day. Why am I in here?
That's what my wife tells me all the time.
Or why am I going to the game and spending a fortune on this stuff and leaving midway through the third quarter? And
Right.
I've spent a fortune on these tickets, and I've spent a fortune on the PSL, and I've spent a fortune on the concessions. What am I, some kind of masochist? I mean, what? And he better wake up to that reality. And I know he's trying, but he's like Mr. Magoo. He can't figure this out. I mean, and I've said this before, he's Costanza. Every instinct he has is wrong. Every instinct he has is wrong. And we applauded him for going outside the organization, and it looked like Daboll and Schoen were the right thing. But then these guys tie themselves to Jones, and now they're doing it again. They should bench him right now and play DeVito. That's what they should do. And it's not because DeVito gives them the best chance to win. It just will at least keep because fans are done.
They'll be happy. They'll like him.
Well, they're done with Jones.
Yeah, they'll just root for him. Yeah. And if you know you're going to get the
and
worst
he's not
case,
going to be here next year. We all know he's not going to be here next year. Sorry.
So no, you're fine. And I'm trying to, and I think no, because I mean, I could beat this thing into the ground too. So I think let's focus a couple other places, because we are going to have to kind of tie into eventually later in the week. So let me just break down
a lot of notes.
Things. Yeah. So for a couple of things this week, we're doing the game review. We're kind of mixed in the BBI week review. So I was thinking we were going to do three videos. We might just do two. The preview for the game for this weekend will be kind of big, because it's really going to be a preview of Go Forward. It's going to be a preview of Go Forward. There are a number, and so I'll just say.
Can I interrupt one more time?
Please.
I'm interrupting it. So I wanted to bring this up earlier. So this show's going to change. So I said to my wife last night, I'm like, John and I just started this, and I was really, and I kind of still am. I'm really excited about Inside BBI.
Yeah, me too.
But I'm like, who the hell is going to tune in and listen to this if they're not watching the Giants? I said, this is just freaking great. This is, sarcasm. But
that's funny. That's in the thumbnail I already made for this.
Do you remember Nightline? Do you remember Nightline with Ted
This is Nightline. Yeah.
Okay. They started that during the Iranian hostage crisis. That's how that show started.
Okay.
When the hostages were taken. I remember as a kid staying up to 11:30 and going through that humiliation, where every night they would tell us what's going on with the hostages. And that show, I would say, Nightline, day 78, and the hostages are still in Tehran.
Yeah.
Our show is going to become like Nightline was. It's going to be a running commentary on the disaster of the season. That's what I feel like right now. So I think people should tune in, because I think you're going to line up some wonderful guests.
Yep.
We're going to get some people that are going to be fascinating from the past. But I think we're basically cataloging a train wreck right now at this point.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a market for that right now, but I feel like we're going to be Nightline now, coming on every week now and doing this. I mean, because until they come to their senses, we're going to have more pictures like that's over my shoulder right now. One's going to be the Hindenburg, the garbage fire, Elmo on fire. It's going to be all this crap, because we're going to be like, we're not going to have anything to talk about. Well, the Giants lost 35-12. Great. It's going to be crap.
We'll definitely be leaning. There'll be a lot of past stuff. I'll pull back the curtain slightly. I mean, Eric knows this to a pretty good degree, but not all of it, because a lot of it I try to do. I don't like to give false hope. So I'll even not tell Eric all the time who I'm working on until I think I might really have a chance.
Well, yeah, the Giants might tell people to stay off our show, because
that's the other thing. That's one of the things where I was gonna pull the curtain back for a minute, because I took some shit, and I guess deservedly so, because I didn't realize I stepped into something else that was there. But I made a post on Sunday about trying to be positive going into this thing, whether you like this guy, hate this guy, or you just are suffering the guy. We all want them to win. But I didn't always feel that people always do. I think some people just want it to be bad, so that gives them something to constantly say, see, I'm right, no matter what. And I didn't realize there was some other stuff that had happened before. I didn't really realize that, but it doesn't matter. It was meant with good intention, but it went bad. But partly Eric and I really got kind of, I won't say blasted, but we were pretty much informed just how toxic some outside of the community, the BBI community, the bigblueinteractive.com community, and how it's viewed even within the organization, but in some media. I think some of it is because they're wearing their heart on their sleeve and they don't like to be called out. And I get that. And I do think sometimes the toxicity takes a level of I'm being critical to being I'm being really nasty. And I think we saw some of that at Giants. I say Giant Stadium, I'm sorry, MetLife, but Giant Stadium to me. We saw that after the game was over when people were heckling Jones leaving. That's kind of taking it pretty far. Go home. For the love of God. I mean, why waste your time just so you
Well,
can
that's
yell
the
at the
thing. I
guy?
mean, what kind of person stays
Yeah.
late and does that? I mean, look, I'm pissed off. But again, Daniel Jones is the symptom of what's going on. And again, if you want to boo him, fine, but staying afterwards and doing that,
Right. Like
yeah,
seeking him out. I mean, that's really that's like internet
it's
sickness in
stalking
person.
behavior. To me,
Yeah,
that's stalking behavior. That's
so
just
let's
weird.
not get involved in that. But the Giants do pay attention. This is one thing I'll tell you that it's an
But I will say
absolute
this:
fact.
Malin Burke was out on Twitter going, "Shame on you, Giants fans, for doing it." The Giants should stay out of that discussion right now.
Yes, I
They already
agree.
pissed enough. The fans will police themselves, but to have the Giants in any way, shape, or form, and get, you want some other advice, Giants? Stop tweeting out shit like "Happy Birthday, Brian Burns" or whatever, or you know they don't want to hear a goddamn thing from you on social media right now until you win. They
Well,
don't. No one cares about this other crap that you're tweeting out.
even worse was and I know he pays attention. I know he probably even watches some of the shows because he was on. So I'm going to tell you ahead of time, Paul, you're probably not going to like what I'm going to say. But when I watched the Big Blue kickoff lunchtime today at noon, Howard Cross and Paul Dottino were on there.
I saw your post
The
on it.
absolute sandbagging of what really happened was at such a proportion. Like if I really had the wherewithal, I would have called. I was busy working, so I couldn't do it. But I almost would have called in and just been like, "Look, I know Howard used to play, and again, Curtin, you know this is a fact. I've been communicating with Howard to possibly have him come on, and he has agreed. I suspect if he sees what I'm about to say or hears what I'm about to say, he'll say no. He was on the sidelines, he said, and he saw the fact, and this is quote unquote, and I can't give you verbatim, the Giants receivers were not getting open, and the only time that they were getting the separation where you saw the stat that was shared, Giants wide receivers had more separation than any other receivers in the league. And they gave the example. Paul looked up how they come to that stat, and it's once the ball has been thrown, whether it's caught or incomplete. At that point, if the receivers are away from their coverage, that's the yards, that's the separation. And so Howard was saying, well, they didn't get that separation until Daniel started scrambling. I'm like, I don't know what game you were watching, but when Daniel scrambled, he wasn't throwing to anybody. He
I know.
ran and sacked, or he ran and threw it into the ground. And by the way, if you've ever stood on the sidelines of a freaking football field, you can't possibly see how the coverage is across the field. You're
Oh yeah.
literally looking
No,
parallel
no.
to the field.
I learned that the first time I had a press pass. Actually, standing on the sideline sucks because you can't see
You
anything.
can, so for
And I
him to
got hit
say
on a
that,
I got hit on a kickoff too. I had a huge bruise on my. It's one of my manly man moments.
nice.
I got hit by a Redskin and a Giant at a Redskins game in Washington. No, look, you're both right in this sense. Is Daniel Jones missed throws that were open and he just missed it. But the Vikings did drop a lot of people, and the Giants played more. This is where the Giants were out coached on that side of the ball. Daboll had them do more max protecting stuff, and so there were more defenders than there were
There
defensive backs.
were
So there were
receivers, sure.
tight windows. Now I didn't watch the all 22, so I'd have to do that. But we heard all summer from multiple people, including people that don't even aren't even on this team, how great Daboll is at scheming wide receivers to get open. Well, if that's the case, which is it? Is he not? Was that a lie? Was this a bad game plan, or did the quarterback miss those guys? I don't.
Or are you scheming to protect the quarterback? because
That's
he can't lead and he can't throw to spots. That's a
yeah.
big problem.
Well, don't you get the sense? This is where we get into danger territory, and this is where people are going to say we're picking on Jones. Of course, most people are saying pick on him.
Like if they're going to say we didn't do
I
enough.
get. Don't you get the sense that Daniel doesn't trust throwing into tight windows?
Oh, absolutely.
All right. So in the NFL,
You throw people open, by the way.
well, in
You
the
throw
NFL,
them open.
people don't always get wide open. So there was that horrible play. I want to talk about the other side of the ball too in a sec here before we talk about the big picture. There was that play where Cordell Flott got roasted because he bit on the bubble screen, and that so there sometimes
Sure.
guys get wide open like that. But Daniel's got to sometimes hit a tight window and get somebody. And we sometimes see that in training camp where he'll throw the back shoulder fade, or we'll see him make a throw into the end zone in tight coverage. But gets in a real game, he stops. He's afraid. He's just broken. He's a broken quarterback. Look, I'd rather see Tommy DeVito in there right now, or Locke. From this sense, it's just take some shots.
When you say
Oh,
so,
Daniel plays afraid. He's got. If I was him, I wouldn't want to do this anymore. I've got my money.
every
I would just
every
go away.
every answer given for why something didn't happen, you can find another play later where he did the very thing that we said he can't do over here, and he did it in a spot where it wouldn't have made sense to do it. So
No,
when he threw it in the end zone in the triple coverage, that was a horrible pass. It was behind Slayton. You were going to make it no matter what. But the earlier pass, I want to say it's the first quarter, when Neighbors is running down the field, I believe there's a corner of safety. He's coming between the two. Jones waits until Neighbors is now looking back at him before he throws the ball, allowing the safety to come across and knock the ball down.
well, we're seeing a lot of this. We're seeing a lot of him. Well, that looked weird on the video, but we're seeing a lot of him like not, and then pulling it back,
Yeah.
and then running, and then going like that. So he's indecisive.
There's no
He's double
fluidity to his
clutching,
game.
and he's
Yeah.
moving around, and he's just not comfortable. Again, I don't think he's going to prove me wrong, because I think we're past that point, and I hope he proves me wrong, but I don't think he's going to do it anymore. But he's done. I think he's just damaged goods at this point, and it's time to move on. And well, let's talk the defense, because I want to talk about
Well, real quick
what
on
this
the
means.
offense, though, on the
Oh
offense,
yeah,
what did you of the offensive line? I've heard a lot of people, depending on who you talk to, well, we've fixed it, but it's got to get better. I
well, we
only
knew
saw
that.
I only saw a few minor things, and it seemed more like the issue that we thought they might have. They haven't played together as a group, and I thought at one point Runyon jumped over to help Thomas
Yeah, you saw that play. Yeah, they didn't
yeah.
pick up that stunt, and they failed to pick up that stunt on the left side, and that because Runyon missed a lot of time, and that was their Illuminor was shaky on an early pass protection, and I think I saw Van Roten allow a pressure, and I think he had a penalty as well too. I'm not worried about the line. Look, the line was dreadful last year. It wasn't great in this game, but it wasn't
No, they were more than
terrible.
serviceable. More than serviceable.
But you could say, I mean, the problem is every element of the Vikings outplayed us. Their offensive line played up better than our offensive line. I told people their tackles are good, and we'll get to the defense, but our edge rushers were largely invisible against that.
Disappointingly so.
Yeah, and we'll get to that in a second. But the offense. Anyway, I interrupted you again, but I don't.
No. You're
I don't
fine.
think the offensive line was.
I thought
I
they
don't
were
think it
fine.
was a win. I didn't think it helped them win, but I don't think it was the reason they lost.
I thought they were fine. I don't understand some of the things they chose to do. The runs with Jones, the one to the right.
What the hell was that? I mean,
the one to the right, you were having Van Roten pull, but the problem is with Illuminor was blocking his guy, you're pulling Van Roten, but a blitzer came through. So when the blitzer's coming through, Van Roten is getting that guy in the backfield. Jones is right there. There's no chance that he's going to make it anywhere else. It was a really bad design. And by the way, you ran him 3 times. You had him do another short yardage one. He runs very upright. He turns his back slightly and goes into the line. Unlike
His
Jalen Hurts,
quarterback sneak was ugly as hell. I mean,
oh,
again,
you're going to get cracked in the back of the
he
head.
looked like he was afraid on that play, the way he ran that. I mean,
I think it's all tied to the neck. There's something about him. I just,
he should be afraid of his neck.
well, I
He
would
should.
be.
That's what I'm
I've been
saying.
there.
Take your
Like,
money and leave at this point because Daniel, all you're going to do is get booed at this point. He's not going to turn this around here. He may go someplace else and turn it around. I doubt it, but
so, so
what are
the
we
tight
doing?
ends,
I keep saying, what are we doing? What is he doing? I don't know what we're doing at this point.
let's finish the offense because we want to get to the defense and then we can get, BBI, bigger picture. The tight ends I thought played okay. Johnson dropped.
Theo Johnson dropped a pass.
But you know what though? It wasn't a great pass either though.
Once
again, he's coming back. I know it hit him in the hands, but he's not going anywhere with the way you threw it. He was just going to get creamed. He's going to get hit the second you caught it.
The problem with this is do the weapons look bad because of the quarterback, or are they contributing to the quarterback looking bad? I think I know the answer, but I don't know 100%. But I think I know I think most Giants fans know the answer.
I think.
Okay, so I don't think that I don't get the use of Hyatt. Everyone thinks knows that I'm a big Hyatt guy. He hardly played. I think he has to be out there, but they didn't take any shots. So if you're not going to take any shots, then I don't get that either. I didn't understand what they were trying to do because the way the league has evolved right now. God, I wish I knew who. There was somebody. I think it was somebody. It was somebody on John Schmelk's show at Giants.com who did the analytics stuff, and he said the way the league has gone to now is they're okay with giving up 4-yard runs. They see that as a win. He said even sometimes 5 or 6 yard runs. They just don't want the chunk yards. So if you're going to run Daniel Jones and he gains 4 or 5 yards, the defense is going to give it because you get to hit the quarterback too. I don't know why Brian Daboll thought, because Brian Daboll actually has a good record against this defensive coordinator. I don't know Flores. I don't know why he thought he was going against the coordinator of the Vikings 2 years ago, who kept falling for those RPOs. They weren't going to fall for that crap. So
But we didn't run it though. We didn't run it.
Throwaway plays. I mean, they were like, it was like, all right, you're going to do that. That's the same as giving
what I found
the snap.
What I found really weird is you didn't run the RPO. You literally ran Jones power
running play. You're right.
You ran him power runs, and I was like, wait, what are you doing? Like, what's the point of having all these wide receivers that we think are so much better now?
That's my point. What is the so we heard in Hard Knocks we're going to let Daniel Jones sink or swim this year.
It sounds like they're letting him sink.
In this game. There were two things. I got the feeling he didn't want to throw down the field, but I also got the feeling that the coaches were afraid to have him throw. I don't know. Again, I don't know if I'm putting my subjective bias into this at this point now, but it felt like, and I know other people on the website felt the same way, but so maybe we're feeding on each other. It's groupthink, which is a danger. But I felt at some points that they were like, he's afraid to put the ball in Daniel's hands. Why are we running 2 quarterback runs back to back in a critical drive in a great place on the field? Why are you doing this?
Right.
And it felt like almost like he was afraid to trust Daniel to make a play there. God damn, you got Malik Neighbors, you got Wan'Dale Robinson, you got Hyatt, you got Slayton. Throw the goddamn ball down the field. I mean, I don't know what we're doing. And is it Daniel won't throw it down the field? Then again, why are you playing Daniel? Somebody else said on the website, is he trying, again, this is another Costanza reference. Is he trying to get fired at this point? Is he, because it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make, I don't know what they're doing. I mean,
the usage of players was questionable, and we'll get to that later because it actually was far more on the defensive side than it was on the offensive side. And again, we're still kind of stuck with Jones, but I'm talking about like with the receivers when they went power. You had Manhurst was on the field at one point. They went 3. They had Manhurst, Johnson, and Bellinger were on the field at the same time, and I'm like, the second you do that, you have 100% eliminated anything other than you're running, Jones is running, or you're trying to suck them in to just dump a pass out to one of those tight ends. the defense doesn't have to worry about anything. The opposite is
And
also
Bellinger looks slow to me now. He looks really slow. I don't know what happened. I don't think it's just the eye thing. He looks slow to me.
Yeah,
So,
that's a good point.
yeah.
The opposite is also true though. When you're deep, this is what I didn't understand. And my wife and I have this conversation about, it's kind of a weird thing. I kind of hard to get into all of it, but like stuff from the past that years ago happened with something else. And then I always tell her like, well, yeah, if we had done this over here, that changes everything after that though. So you can't say, well, we still would live here in South Carolina. We would still have, you don't know. Because if we did something different over there, every decision you've made now changes.
Right.
The Giants keep doing things like the plays don't actually relate to each other. Like we're just doing things in a vacuum in a moment. So when you're deep in your own end, based on how the whole thing is gone the entire day, you decide to run bunch to the right and then bring Wandell in motion. If I'm on defense, I go, they're going to throw a bubble screen right here because they've basically got 4 receivers now in this one area, and they've got one guy running behind the little guy that they probably are going to try to get these 3 guys in front. They're just going to throw it to him. There was no other option.
There's no question that the Vikings seem to know what we were going to run. I'm not just talking about that one play. I'm talking about throughout the game. They look like they knew what we were going to do.
So people give credit to Van Ginkel, which you should. That's an amazing play for him to be able to catch.
I think they knew that was coming. I think they knew that was coming.
That's my point. I don't care if Van Ginkel even touches that ball.
He knew it was coming.
Go back.
It's not even the other guy with the defensive back might have intercepted it.
That's the point I was trying to make.
Yeah.
Go back and look at the highlight. If that ball makes it past Van Ginkel, the Giants receivers are moving forward. There's a defender that's coming right through the open space where the 3 receivers were moving forward and Wandell's waiting for the ball. If he makes that catch, he's going to get blown up.
And compare that to what the Vikings did when they ran the bunch formation, the bubble screen, but then they faked it and they threw the touchdown pass against Flott. There's the coaching. So
we are literally a color by numbers book right now that other teams just see what's out there and they know what's happening.
Daboll has a tremendous record against Flores.
Yeah, not with this team. Not with this team.
Yeah, but he does. So what is going on?
You know what's going on. You already answered your question earlier.
Know. It's deeper. All right, so let's
flip the other side of the ball.
We're going way long on this. I want to get to go through the defense pretty quick, and I want to talk about the big picture because that's so
let's start with the defense, and let's go back to front because the front is where you and I talked earlier, other episodes. We know where we are in the back. The front's going to have to lead the way, but let's start in the back. First thing I'll say is Deonte Banks has to play better. He's to be an aggressive man corner, but he didn't do horribly against Justin Jefferson. The touchdown pass, Jonathan Vilma said too easy, and a lot of people jumped on that.
No, I thought he was right there with that. I didn't agree with that too easy comment.
Well, he said too easy, but I don't think that's what he meant. I don't think he meant, it's too easy. Banks is horrible. It's too easy. You put that all on Banks, but here's the thing. If you put Daniel Jones as the quarterback for the Vikings,
he won't
and I know that's bad.
He won't throw that pass.
But not only will he not throw it, even if he did throw it, look at Darnold. I don't think Darnold's a good quarterback. He barely got it over Davidson's hands, and Banks is right there. He just missed the ball.
Right, but what I'm saying is Daniel doesn't throw that pass. That's what I'm getting to a bit.
I agree.
He won't throw that ball because he would think I can't get it to him.
I agree with you there. What my point though was, even if he did throw it,
no, I hear you.
That was such a precision pass for Darnold. That was a damn good pass. Banks is on his guy. I mean, Banks is right there. And Davidson just missed the ball. I mean, it's that close. So I'm like, it's kind of hard. Like, you give it to them. I would think we would be able to, if Eli was back in the day and you've got, Manningham or you've got Nix or whatever coming across, yeah, we're going to make that play too. Look at what happened in the Super Bowl, Manning to Cruz in the Super Bowl against the Patriots in 46. That was between 2 guys, picture perfect. There wasn't anything Banks was going to do on that one. I thought overall
it's just a damn shame. That was a fourth and 2 pass at the 3-yard line. Yep. The problem they had, I wrote this down. The problem they had on they had three long scoring drives. They had what it was 65, the 99, and
99.
the other one was 70. So on the first, they had him in a 1st and 20. On the second drive, the 99, they had him on a 2nd and 12, and then on a 3rd and 8, and then the 4th and 2 that we just talked about. And then on the last one, the one to start the 3rd quarter, they had him on a 3rd and 16. That's where Thibodeau got flagged. So so we talked about this. The Shane Bowen's defense wants to force the other team to make mistakes and be perfect going down the field.
Sure.
The problem was Sam Darnold was perfect going down the field, and that was related to the defense. Didn't make him not be perfect, but they also let him off the hook on those. When you get teams in 1st and 20 and 2nd and 12 and 3rd and 16, that should be the end of the drive. It should,
Right.
especially if you have Brian Burns and Dexter Lawrence rushing the passer. That should be the end of the drive, but they let him off the hook on those 3 drives and let those drives continue. So my problem was related, and we're going to get to this. I just want to paint the big picture because it ties into the specifics that you're going to get to. The pass rush was woefully inadequate. So
minus Lawrence.
Right, minus Lawrence. Well, I will say this: Lawrence deserves a stud award, and he had 6 pressures and all this stuff. And you're like, it's unfair to ask more of him. I wish we had seen more of him. The other defensive lineman laid a major egg.
And you've always said that was that's going to be a big problem next to him.
Yeah, but the problem was when Davidson came into the game, they really started running the football. I mean, that shouldn't happen. And the other one, but the guy who's not getting any grief is Nunez Roches. He was invisible. He was doing. There was one run where he just went inside and opened up a whole lane, and the commentator really blamed Davidson on it, but Nunez Roches just vacated the whole right side of the line.
Yeah.
So and Brian Burns got blocked on that play. So again, I don't think they ran the ball down our throats. There were those 2 back-to-back runs that were bad when Dexter came out of the game. But the defensive line is going to be a problem. That's going to be a problem. But the thing is they rushed 4. They didn't get there. They played coverage, and they let Sam Darnold of all people go 11 for 11. That's the big picture before we get into the specifics. But and Aaron Jones still can run the football. He's a really the Giants
very solid.
They got hats on him, but he is so damn physical. He pushed the pile on a number of those runs. There was one run where they had him stopped, and he still got the first down. He still can run the football.
And on that one too, to be honest, I thought Nubin made a mistake when he came in. If he had just come in low and just wrapped up his legs, just his ankles, he kind of hit him in the side, and that allowed Jones to just push backwards, and he fell forward for the first down. He was in the pile though to begin with. If Nubin, when he got in there, just had gone in straight into his legs and just wrapped his legs, he wouldn't have been able to fall forward. But that's easy to say. I mean, you're rushing in real and want to hit the guy. So we knew it's a new defense. There's going to be some things. I kind of feel like, and you already hinted at this earlier, I just get the weird feeling that they start to losing has a stench. It has a palpable feel to it. And when you start to struggle, you start seeing it, and you've been a part of it for a little while, which, Thibodeau has, Lawrence has, Thomas has. You start seeing, you're like, oh, and the energy just kind of comes down just a little bit.
And the energy was already getting to be negative from the get-go from the fans. So when the fans, I'm not blaming the fans, don't get me wrong.
No, but that's
the defense feeds off the crowd. And from the very first possession, the crowd started going, oh my God. Boo.
Right. If the Giants were gladiators, they'd be getting this back in the day.
So the defense is not feeding off of that. So again, they have to overcome that. Good defenses do that, but I agree completely with what you said. There's a stench, and the people that are still holding out any hope for Daniel Jones are going to get really mad at me because they're like, oh, they're going to blame Daniel Jones for the defense. the Daniel Jones stink is affecting the whole team right now. It's affecting if the Giants fans are into it and they're standing on their feet and they're not a bunch of Viking fans in the freaking stadium. Maybe the crowd, maybe those pass rushers get there. That's what I'm saying. But we have to be honest. The pass rush didn't get there.
Sure.
And Sam Darnold went down the field, and makes you wonder if Sam Darnold does that, what are other teams going to do that? I said it in last week.
Sure.
We don't know what we have in Shane Bowen. And
well, you just said something really interesting, right? I can't believe there'd be any left. I mean, Jesus, I was kind of in the middle of the road. But if there are supporters of Jones left, God bless you for your rose-colored glasses. But it does have an effect on the defense. And I'll say this: imagine if you went, whatever number of games it is now. So we'll say that was 10 and 22. He played 6 last year, so that's 16. Now it's 17. So if you play 17 games and he put up 24, 25 points a game and the defense gave up 35 to 40 every single game, do you think after a while that would affect him to the point where he's just going to be risking just throwing into coverages and just trying to, because he knows if we don't get 40 points, we're going to lose.
right.
That's what the defense feels right now. If suddenly the other team has 14, we're in trouble.
Oh yeah. Well, because the fans knew it. We all knew it. We felt, look, the game wasn't over when it was 14-3, but it felt like it was over when it was 14-3.
It absolutely did.
But it wasn't over. 11-point
Sure.
lead is it's not nothing, but if you can over, especially if it's not halftime, and I'm talking about before halftime, and at halftime you still can overcome that. So I actually was thinking, idiot that I am, this game, we still can get back into this game if we can.
I did as well.
If we can hold them in the third quarter and get the ball back, and the offense can do something together. Because I still have memories of the Giants being a competent football team, and that. Anyways,
did you for just a second? Did you kind of think, okay, I saw this last year against the Cardinals. I think that, we've seen a couple things.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about.
That's what I thought too.
But it's so rare. It's so rare.
But there was just never
quarterback.
There was never a spark. There was never a spark that made me in the second. Once the second half started, I'm like, Jesus. I don't want to say they were flat. There just was never. I truly believe the first series of the game killed the rest of the game.
It set the tone.
Yeah.
Which it shouldn't, but it did, and it just got worse. And the 99-yard drive can't happen. That's ridiculous. Again, they had them in behind the chains on that drive. I mean, and again, they let them get over a 3rd and 8 too. What was the other one? 2nd and 12. It seemed like they were in like.
Well, there was that one you brought up on the. I think it's the second series. We got the field goal after we got the fumble. We got the field goal. Now the Vikings.
And that's bullshit too. You get the ball in 20 yards, you score a touchdown. What the? I mean,
we could kill that one. I think the Vikings had a holding penalty, which so now they were like 1st and long or 2nd and long, and we got a really good rush. Lawrence got a big time rush. Burns picked the wrong spot. He was trailing, and then he went outside, and Darnold stepped in and ran, and he picked up like 9-10 yards, which gave a much shorter 3rd down, and they ultimately picked it up and kept going down the field.
That's what I mean. They let them off the hook.
Yeah, Burns had a chance right there. If he had just stayed coming right through the middle, you get Darnold. And the thing I didn't understand is why did he go outside? Darnold would be running to his left if he went outside. Do you know how hard it is to throw down the field, being a right-handed quarterback, running hard to the left? By going outside, you left the middle wide open, and that's where Darnold went. And so that was a mistake. That was a bad choice on Burns' part.
Just to finish up on the defense, because I do want to move to the bigger stuff. Because again, sure. I don't want this to go too long, and I want to focus on the big picture. The personnel things in here made no sense. It reeked of last year when they had Izudu be the backup left swing tackle, when he didn't practice at all at swing tackle. They didn't use Flott in the nickel all camp. They didn't practice with him as far as we know ever.
And he's been injured a lot too.
And maybe they did a little bit when the press wasn't watching this week. But Flott's the starting nickel in this game. And then when Phillips comes in, good things happen. Like people talk about the fumble, but he made a great tackle before the 4th and 2 play. because it looked like
Yes.
they were going to have to settle
Yes.
for a field goal. He made a great tackle there. I want to see Andrew Phillips. I think is going to be one of my favorite players. I may be wrong on this. I've said Hyatt's going to be one of my favorite, and people think he's a bust. Um,
But there's no
but
reason
I want
not
to
to
see
play him.
Andrew Phillips. What I mean, why was that? And, Isaiah Simmons wasn't on the field. If they're going to play Dane Belton, I have less of a problem with that. But just there were just weird things like that. It just in the
There's
game that just didn't make any sense. And of course, Gunner gets hurt in the warm-ups. You can't make this shit up.
there's more weirdness overall though. I don't understand, why did we go into the game with 51 players on the roster?
Well, they were trying. I guess what the rationale behind that is there are some salary cap ramifications, and you're going to have inactives anyway. That originally thought that sounds weirder than it is, but when it was explained that the salary cap, there's a salary cap game there, so that
Sure.
I
Well,
don't think it just does sound weird though. I told my wife that, and she said, "Why?"
well,
I'm like,
and the reason I say it like that, right, is so here you are, and just so folks know, right? I know the conversation came up about the Eagles and their salary cap, and then why the Giants, and
yeah.
there's a lot of different reasons. But the one thing you absolutely do not want to have happen, we only have one player on the team that we could legitimately kick the can down the road to open up space to do whatever we wanted.
Slayton again.
No.
Oh.
Jones is the only contract that you can play around with if you want to make space.
Oh, I thought you meant to trade. I'm sorry.
I'll get to that later because that's going to happen. I guarantee it. There is no way you touch Jones's contract to open up space. So when people are like, well, the Giants could no, we don't want them to do it because as far as I'm concerned, Jones.
No one's saying that, are they? No one's legitimately saying mess with
No, but they say, why can't you play around? Why can't you make space? The only person that we can make space with for real, to make real space, is Jones. And if you do that, you're screwing us.
Why would you want to make space on this team? This team's going to be one of the
well
worst
now,
teams
but
in
that
the NFL.
now that we've gone through week one, but into week one.
Yeah.
The Barkley thing, for the love of God, Giants fans, we have enough stuff to complain about.
I don't even want to talk about Barkley. And
let it go.
I said he was going to do well in Philadelphia. It's still the right decision. It just is. Barkley on this team isn't going to make any difference. He's not going to make any difference. He'll make a difference on the Eagles as long as he stays healthy. He's not going to make a difference on the Giants. He just isn't. Our problems are deeper than that.
So defensively, let's finish that, and then we'll get to the big picture. I thought Phillips played pretty well, and I think he needs to play more. I don't understand the flop thing. In fact, I was shocked when I didn't see him starting outside and they have McLeod. I was like, why is he on the field?
I don't know. Again,
so
it's weird.
And he's so freaking skinny that he's not. I mean, Phillips provided serious support in the making the fumble on the one swing pass, stopping the third down play, which ultimately led to a fourth down score. But still, he did his job. Flott's not making those plays. He's not a physical player. So I don't understand that at all.
I will say this: I thought Adoree got boned on that pass interference. I thought that was a bad. That there were three plays that really changed the complexion of the game. One was the pass interference penalty. One was the Kayvon Thibodeau penalty on the face mask, and the other one was that bomb to Jeffries against Banks and Pinnock. That changed. Those three plays basically were the chunk plays that they needed. But maybe you disagree with me. I thought that Adoree play was awfully. I mean, the receiver came back and ran in. The only
thing that didn't work in his favor is as he's coming, before he turns, he puts his arm out like this.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I mean, if you look at the play, the receiver's grabbing him by the head and stuff. But once he put his arm out like that, it kind of opened up to look, and he was trailing.
I get it, but how many?
It was a bad pass. That was the other thing too.
And I mean, how many times?
What bothered me
changed? Wasn't that 3rd and 8? That was.
It was. I can't remember. It definitely was. It wasn't a first down play. I just can't remember if it was 2nd or 3rd.
Yeah.
The thing that I didn't like is and I don't understand why I know he's on the field for this, but why you would do this. But we ran a play to the outside where we have Wan'Dale Robinson as the lead blocker, and he gets called for holding. By the way, I thought he made a pretty good block.
That was a weird call, and that was a killer call for us too.
Yeah, because that was a nice chunk play for us.
Yeah.
And it moved it back. And that's the other thing too. And we're leaving the defense real quick, but
yeah,
we can't play behind the sticks. We can't. We are screwed. If we're behind the sticks, I mean, we're screwed anyway.
Well, the
But we're
game,
screwed.
to me, the difference in this game between, other than the quarterbacks, but it gets into the quarterbacks, is they were able to make the plays when they were in long down and distance situations, and we couldn't. That was the difference in the game to me. And that's why we scored 6 points and they scored 28 points, or I should say 21 points on offense. But they overcame those long down and distance situations, and as soon as the Giants were in those long down and distance situations, our drives were over.
Teams with average or even slightly below average quarterbacks will still make plays if they don't feel that they have to press. When they have to press, when quarterbacks have to press, they're worried, oh my God, that's different. But when you're playing the Giants, you kind of know. I mean, I'm not even talking about the defensive pressure. I'm talking about the scoreboard. You're not pressing the scoreboard. The Giants just don't put up points. You're
Well,
not worried about falling behind. You take your time. You take that 7 yard on a 3rd and 10, and maybe we go for it on 4th and 3.
right. Well, you know how I was talking about like old quarterbacks like Jay Schrader, and previously I've
Oh
talked
yeah,
about
yeah,
long.
yeah.
Daniel Jones has gotten to be like Dave Brown at the end of his career. Dave Brown got gun shy. Dave Brown. There was a time where Dave Brown. There were moments. Dave Brown had his moments where he actually made plays and brought the team from behind, and sometimes the defense didn't hold.
They're
I
very
don't know.
similar. They're
Again,
very
this is
similar.
because I've brought the Ray Hanley stuff up before too. I think Dave Brown probably arguably is a better quarterback than Daniel Jones, which is saying something right now. Dave Brown got to the point where he was done. He would bring his eyes down and look at the rush and
Oh
not
yeah.
look down the field. And once a quarterback does that, he's toast. And that's how Dave. I knew Dave Brown's career was done when he started watching the pass rush and stopped looking down the field. I'm not saying Daniel Jones is doing that, but Daniel Jones is done in a different way. Daniel Jones, you just say his confidence is gone. He plays with no confidence, and it's infecting the rest of this team.
I
It's
agree.
infecting the team. It's infecting the fan base, and for some goddamn reason, this front office and this coaching staff, they either know it or they don't. And if they know it, they're not going to do anything about it, which is mind numbing to me at this point. And if they don't, they're in this. I want to get into the rest of this because I want to bring this up because I know where this is going, and that's where I want to talk about it at some point here because
Yeah.
we've been on a while. We should start wrapping this
Yeah,
up.
we'll have to wrap it up. We might
Yeah,
have to do this in 2.
yeah.
And it'll carry over. Some of this will carry over to the preview one when
Yes.
we do that this week too. Um, there's I will say this, in defense of Jones to a degree. If you look at the highlights from 19, 20, look at 19. Go back and look at him against Tampa Bay. Our biggest fear with him is he fumbled a lot and he was young and he made kind of questionable choices, but he could sling it. He made plays. He made plays with his legs. He made plays with his arm. 2021, something happened. I think the first neck injury. You look at him now. Go back and just put the pictures side by side. His throwing stance is off. It's completely off. His arm. I said it to Cy when we had Cy on, and I said to him, I said, he's mechanical, but that's not the word anymore that I want to use. It's mechanical in his head. I got to do this, this, and this to throw the ball. It is literally, he's pushing the ball. There's nothing. He does not seem like a natural thrower anymore. He just seems like a guy who's playing the
He's getting
position,
worse.
but it's not natural.
He's getting
Exactly.
worse.
Exactly.
He's less accurate. He's less. Golden Tate. I saw a clip from him today. He said he thinks Daniel Jones thinks too much. I don't know if it's that. I think there's something to what you said about maybe there's something physical, or I don't know. But it's like I said, he's aiming the ball, but he's never been a overly accurate quarterback, but he wasn't a disaster. Yesterday was a disaster.
Who was the Yankees player years ago that had the hell of a time throwing the ball the first? Was it Chuck Knobloch?
No,
was it
I
Knobloch?
remember that, but I don't remember the guy.
I think it was Chuck Knobloch. Yankee fans can correct me. I'm not a Yankee fan.
But
he used to struggle to throw it to first base.
Tapes, like highlight tapes of him
Yeah,
not being able to
because
do
he
that.
struggled to throw it to first base.
Yeah.
That's how I felt with Jones on the passes across the middle and to the outsides, not down the field. The one pass
Well,
down
that's
the
the
field
thing.
where he let neighbors jump, that
So
was a good pass.
he would look down over the middle, and then he would come off, and then he would look to the side, and then like you said, the throw would be into the like down here.
Right.
That's a drain. That was a 6 yard loss on that one play, but it wasn't the only play he did that.
No.
Every time he started throwing on those swing passes, it was a disaster. Eli was never really great on those either. I don't know what it is with the last couple quarterbacks we had, but Jones was dreadful on that.
No, he's horrifyingly bad.
But it's
But
getting
he's
worse. He's getting worse, is what I'm
but
saying.
he's bad going forward on the crossing patterns that come, and it's always behind them. It's always when they're turned back looking. If the receiver is now turned back and facing you, guess what? Everybody else on defense knows that too.
Yeah, and you know what? Malik Neighbors is going to lose it. He's going to lose it because because
he handled his questions pretty well,
but he's a proud guy, and he's going to get to the point where because he played with Jaden Daniels, he's going to go, "What the? I'm a pro, and you're saddling me with this piece of shit quarterback." What
so bigger picture.
Yeah, let's talk big picture.
Without talking about specifically the Washington game, let's just look bigger picture. First off, I want your honest opinion. What do you think is in Daboll's head right now?
I don't know. I don't know what's going to. I'll tell you what's going to happen. Assuming they don't make a switch soon, he and Shane are gone. They've tied themselves to this mess, and the problem they have is even if Mara wants to keep them, the fans are going to not go to the stadium. And I can't imagine how empty the stadium is going to be in November and December. It may be empty in October. And there's no way they survive that. There's no way. The only way this gets turned around is if somehow DeVito comes in or Locke comes in and they somehow play 500 football. But barring that, if they're going to stick with this, they're done. They're done. And they're going to hire Bill Belichick.
Well, see, there you go.
I guarantee you they're going to hire Bill. And the reason is Mara knows he's at the end of his rope because he knows he can't pick guys, and he's going to go for the sure thing. And the risk there is Belichick is up there in years. Well, and I still have a lot of respect for him, but he's also from a different era. But you know that's what's coming. Now, Belichick may say, "Screw you! I don't want to have anything to do with that." But I knew they were going to hire Gettleman. I just knew it in my bones.
Yeah, you knew that was
coming. And I know they're going to make an offer to Belichick. You can just see it coming. And I think that's where this is going right now.
Well, Daboll and Schoen have two problems. Belichick was one. Vrabel's the other. You have two unbelievably competent and Patriot way guys that are out there that if this goes down the toilet, that's where Mara's going to look.
Vrabel may need a backup, but I think Mara is this is a little bit similar, but not quite because it's even more desperate. After the 2 years of Hanley, George Young didn't really want to do it, but hired Dan Reeves because he felt he had to bring in somebody with some gravitas.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And Dan Reeves told him he would play nice, which he didn't. He would play the game the Giants way, and he didn't. And then Dan was gone. BBI started when Dan Reeves was the head coach. That's how long BBI has been around. So I remember this, and this goes back before there was even a forum on the site. So I think John Mara is going to feel like he can't take any chances anymore. I mean, and Vrabel's going to be a bit of more of a chance than Belichick is to him. I think he wants Belichick back here, and I wouldn't bet the house on it, but I tell you, just as like I thought Gettleman was going to be here, they're going to offer him a job. Daboll and Schoen can only save themselves right now if they detach themselves from Daniel Jones. And today they said no, they're not going to do that.
I didn't expect that they would. After one,
I get it, but we're beyond this. I mean, Jones is done. He's
right,
done.
But there's a lot of reasons to not do it just yet.
Why? What are we wasting time for?
Hold on. I don't necessarily think. I think it's more strategic than it is. We think it could turn around. I think we've got a short game. We got a short week coming up, not too far down the road. And if what I think is true, which is Locke still really wasn't ready, but they want Locke to be the guy probably to play throughout. DeVito, the problem with DeVito is he could win just a few games and the crowd goes crazy for him because they love him. But he's not going to get them. They need somebody who can throw the ball to neighbors, and that's really Locke is the guy with the arm. I think they want him to play.
I don't know. I'm not a DeVito guy, but I don't know Locke's better than DeVito.
Oh, I didn't say Locke's better. I just think he has he has the arm to throw the ball down the field where DeVito really doesn't. But
DeVito threw the ball down the field last year.
I mean, yeah.
And one last thing too on the quarterbacks. Boy, did they fuck up by what they did in the offseason. This gets what the Gold Terps was talking about. They should have brought in a legitimate challenger, and other people on the website brought this up today too. They should have brought in a legitimate challenger, and they didn't. This is on Shane. This is on Shane and Daboll.
Yeah, I hate to admit it. I hate to admit it for the one particular person, but at this point, it's failed so badly that either they are blind and they didn't see this coming in the spring, in the summer, which I guess in some ways you can't until the live bullets are flying. You're not going to know that the guy just folds on with people around him. In practice, they look great. I always said it's never good to look good in practice against your own players because that either means your players aren't very good or your quarterback is crappy and you don't know it.
And they're not tanking on purpose. I keep seeing that coming up. They're not tanking on purpose. That's not their style. That they're not doing that. That's not what's going on here.
It would be.
There's a PR element to this. Empty state seats equals losing your job. And if they don't know that, they're dumber than I think they are.
Now, the one reason to keep Jones in is this. Of all of the time that he's been here, there's only one team that he's had success consistently against. I know that. I know that. But they don't. They're not you, though. They're trying to win a game.
And the Redskins, keep calling them the Redskins. The Commanders aren't any good. They could beat them. But
that's true.
Then you say, oh, we're going to give Daniel Jones more time.
But you're already.
Done.
I mean,
he's done. And if he gets hurt,
that's the scary part. Hurt,
oh man, I mean, this is just train wreck. This is so bad right now, and this is what the Giants don't understand, but the fan base knows. Look at BBI. We're like old dudes. BBI isn't a site for TikTok generation people that are, these are old dudes like us that have been fans forever, and we're like, I'm out. I'm not putting up with this. This is ridiculous. This is disgusting. They're not even competitive. Every time they pull me in, and again, we're not even getting in October now. It's the first game.
Well, you saw Vikings fans doing the skull chant.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I mean,
late in the game.
I'm like, embarrassing. We're like those teams that everyone used to make fun. I guarantee you this. The other thing, I guarantee you, Belichick, we're going to start a podcast where I'm going to have a bag on my head at some point this year because it's so bad.
Nice.
I don't want to do. I mean, this is. I mean, we're going to do this because it's venting, therapeutic, and stuff like that. But
it's also one game. It's also one game.
Oh, is it? Yeah, it's not one game.
But it is. There's 16. There's 16 more games to go.
Yay!
And but we don't know what. But we don't know what the ultimate plan.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. They're going to be 3 and whatever.
But see, then that would make everybody happy.
No,
all I hear on the site is
I don't want to watch that.
What I heard on the site was what I read multiple times. I'd rather and this is where I totally disagree. I'd rather be 4 wins and a better pick than a 8-win or 9-win team. Well,
those guys were right last year because we would have a quarterback. No, we should have lost more games last year.
But that's again.
I disagree. I'm with the we needed.
That's not what you're talking about. The difference between 4 wins and 6 wins. I'm talking about
the difference between Drake May and Jaden Daniels being on this team and Daniel Jones.
That's fine. That's fine. But the point is, the comment was I'd rather be 4 wins than 8 or 9. I'll remind you that a 9-win team for the Giants won the Super Bowl in 2011. 9 wins get you in, and that's different. Right now, though, we're so bad
Yeah,
that
I can't even. I can't even. We're so bad. I can't even think like that anymore. That's
but
the
we're
sad
but the
thing.
bad part is we're not that bad. There are good players on this team.
Oh, sure there are. But that's
And
the other
that's
thing
the
that
part that bugs me.
that's where maybe the blue color glasses are going to come because they're a fan. I saw lots of posts today that this team just sucks. I don't believe that. I really don't. I
What
don't
was the
think
Giants? What was the Giants record? See if you remember. What was the Giants record when they pulled Kurt Warner and put Eli Manning in?
we had a winning record. It was 5-4.
5-4. The Giants were 5-4, and they were technically winning. They tanked the rest of the year because they are
And they
again.
won. They only won the last game against Dallas.
Exactly. So we went 6 wins. We brought in a
Eli
guy.
like lost his 6 games in a row or something like
Yeah,
that.
he won the last game. He took a beating, but we had our
He
guy
had
to pull
zero.
it
He had a 0.0
against the Ravens.
against the Ravens.
Yes,
And
but
I
he
was like,
also
oh my
had
God, we picked the wrong quarterback.
but he also had a gunslinger game against the Steelers.
Roethlisberger, yeah. Against
And I think we had Jamar Taylor, who
Yep.
unfortunately could only play a brief amount of time because of his knee, but he had a couple of big, deep passes,
Yep.
one big, deep touchdown pass. Anyway, weird that I remember these
Where
games.
we're getting off.
But we had it, but we had our guy on site that we could then put him in. I still think they're hoping to get a little ways. I think they were a little worried about let's gel the line. We can't, I think Neighbors, the bad part about bringing in a big time wide receiver, and you just brought it up, and it was my fear beforehand about why you don't go that route, is if you do and you struggle, they're going to be pissed. They're going to be disgruntled. You're going to get a Beckham situation potentially down the road where a guy just like, screw this. I'd rather
I
go to
think the
somebody
team
else.
wants to move. Again, I have no information on this. It's just a gut feeling. I think the team is ready to move on from Daniel.
I agree.
I think
I
it's the
100% agree.
opposite. I think it's the opposite. I think the longer we stay with this, the more ugly this is going to get.
So
It's
I
going to
think
get
it
ugly
goes
with the
three.
fans. It's going to get ugly with the players.
I think it goes 3 weeks, and I think it might go 4 or 5 if we win 1 or 2. But I think it goes past the. I think it goes past the Thursday game. I think when we play the Cowboys, the funny thing is we play teams that we can beat. We can beat Washington, Cleveland. They're horrible.
They
Deshaun
got a good
Watson.
defense.
I know, but Deshaun Watson has completely just
We're not going to beat anybody. We're not going to beat.
That is
We might
possible.
be Washington, but if we do again, then they start. My point is this, and I know you know where I'm going with this. Why waste any more time on this? To me, it's like a bad investment. When you know you have a bad investment, why hold on to the bad investment?
But you're walking away from the investment at the end of the year, no matter what. I've said this all
No,
along
but
that I think
the
they are.
game you can get a read on DeVito and you can get a read on Locke.
I think you already
have. They're complete garbage, but we know Daniel's garbage. So use the time. And the other thing is, again, I keep saying this: if they want to
hurt,
if they want to save their jobs, get off of Daniel because the fans aren't going to tolerate it anymore.
So here's the other question.
We have the stands may be half empty in September.
So here's the other question. Is there any possibility, and this, again, I'm just speculating, asking you, is there any possibility that they know that their jobs are safe through this year, that we know we made a mistake with Jones, we're going to ride out the year because of the contract?
I bet you John Mara told Joe Judge his job was safe back in 2020, and it wasn't because he melted down. And remember, Abrams was supposed to be the GM. I bet you. So what I'm saying is this: even if they were told that, they're fools if they believe it, because reality will change that situation.
Right.
Because Mara will have to respond to empty seats. He'll have to. He and it's been his MO anyways. So, I mean, I don't know. To answer the question, I don't know. I would never operate under that assumption. The NFL coaches every single offseason, a fourth to a third of the head coaches get fired. It seems like now, and what is it? Half the coordinators got fired last offseason. If you're operating under that, then I think you're fooling yourself. That's why I wrote that article back in November where I said the risk of tripling down on Daniel Jones, and I said that before the draft. I mean, back before the season was over, and it's eerie how that article. That's why I went back and looked at it today. And I'm like, damn, that was pretty good. That was pretty good. I'm mad at myself coming on last week and saying the Giants might win the win the NFC East. Now,
Well, I mean, look,
but I was trying to
we
be.
knew we were. I mean, I thought they'd win 10, 9, 10. I thought 10 because
We have
first
no
off,
credibility after.
well, you know what? To be quite honest, I'm still not convinced that they might not do that because
Oh, come on!
no,
Come
wait,
on.
hold up. First off, if you could say that, you could say that, that's fine. I'll stand on it on my own. I'm not saying it with Daniel Jones because I think he's going to get pulled at some point fairly soon. But you look across the league, right? Here's what we saw. Kirk Cousins did nothing with the Falcons. Absolutely nothing. Quarterback play across the NFL right now is probably at its worst,
I don't care, but I don't care.
What? You do care because this is the shitty part. If it's really bad across the league, it's a bad time for us to be needing a quarterback when about 9 other teams are going to need it too.
So having the worst record may help, but I don't want Daboll and Schoen picking the new quarterback.
So you want them gone. You want them. You would like them
Well,
gone.
I will tell you this. I don't get what they're doing now. This is why this, and I'm not alone on this. I can't find a goddamn Giants fan who thinks otherwise right now. This is why I equate what happened September 8th, 2024 is our modern version of the November 78 night, was it 19th, November 19th, whatever it was, game, because Giants fans have said, I don't trust this organization anymore. They do not know what the hell they're doing. I've had enough. Now, I don't expect planes to be flying overhead, but I expect a similar type of apathy and just disgust. And people who have been on my site for 20 years are saying I'm not watching the games anymore.
Right. I did see a lot of that. I was surprised.
And I'm not surprised. I mean,
I'll still suffer through it because
if I didn't run a Giants website, I don't think I'd be watching anymore because why do I want to expose myself to stuff? I'm a sports fan. I love watching sports, but this isn't fun. This sucks.
Yeah. So we'll kind of wrap it up to it too because it'll go on forever. Bigger picture then, real quick. Who do you put more of the blame on? Daboll, Schoen, or Jones?
For what? Everything?
They're just kind of where the team's at right now.
I will say I will back up what I said that Daniel is a symptom of a bigger problem. So I said this a long time ago, but I think it's coming to fruition. I said the decision to do Jones's contract, I said at the time, or not at the time, after that, I don't know if they'll be able to overcome that. And that's where this is heading right now. So I think if they had not been dumb enough to do that contract, they would be fine. The decision to do Jones is going to sink them, combined with, again, they've tied the anvil, use the analogy that was used on the site. They use the anvil's been tied to them while they're drowning, and it's gonna take them down. And if they don't, I hear what you're saying. The conventional wisdom is just give Jones a little bit more time. The problem is he comes out and he looks decent against the Commanders like he's done in the past. It's just gonna give them false sense of it's going to be a few more games, and that's again, and then the risk is if he gets hurt. So I don't know what we're doing, but to answer your question, is it's got to be a combination because they're joined at the hip of Daboll and Schoen at this point. They're connected, they're tied at the hip, and I will say this: there are some things that I kind of let slide during Hard Knocks that didn't sit well with me that were minor things. That it's starting to bother me more because I'm starting to get a negative impression. I don't like the way Daboll conducted himself in Hard Knocks. I didn't like the feet on a coffee table, sit up, I didn't like the way he seems. I liked how he was in the combine interviews. He seemed very focused, but a lot of times he just seemed very disinterested. He seemed disinterested on the sidelines at halftime yesterday. He seemed disinterested in the press conference after the game. Like, if this is a result of him trying not to show anger because people were mad that he was getting angry last year, then that's a red flag too. I want him angry. That's why I was getting on people's case last year. Like, I don't want Daboll getting angry on the sideline. Bullshit. If you screw up, you want your coach to get angry.
Right.
But he
Right.
doesn't even seem angry. I mean, did he seem angry to you? He doesn't seem
Nah,
angry
it's
to
it's
me.
almost like it's
I
just
want him angry right now.
things are happening like he's expecting them to happen. Like he just
Yes.
expect he's like it's almost like yeah, this
It's
is
either he's resigned to his own fate or he expected it, or I don't know what's going on. I
some
don't
of
sum this up. I don't know what's going on, but it's not good. It's something. A number of people emailed me today during the donation campaign, and we were talking about this. I tried to send out thank you letters to people that donate emails.
yep.
And I kept saying something's wrong. Something. There's something wrong with what's going on right now. This is not something's on, and I don't know what it is, but it's not right. The whole thing doesn't feel right. Something stinks, and I don't know what it is, but it stinks.
I get a weird feeling. You mentioned it one way of how you're looking at it. I look at it from, and I know what you're talking about for some of the things. There was something else about that during that time, though. It's almost like the coach of the year thing and doing what they did with a roster that was kind of flawed, which again is why I still
And he
think
went
that
to the Rangers games, and he was a big hero in town, and he got the
it became
awards and
very
all that
kind of
stuff.
like, this thing.
Yeah.
And Shane's that way too. He's a younger GM. I feel like he's kind of that way too for somebody. I don't know. There's this thought that they think they can just get through this. Like we almost got it back last year, even with all the injuries. It was so bad, and they blamed the offensive line. Nobody could survive. And it's two things can be true and can be completely opposite at the same time. Yes, nobody would have survived behind that offensive line last year, but you also put it together. You also picked the people that were going to be there.
The thing that is going to kill them is they have hooked themselves to this quarterback. We can talk about the offensive line, we can talk about the wide receivers, we can talk about everything else, but they've hooked themselves to this dud, and they did this. They've done it to themselves, and they continue to do it to themselves. And if they think they've got time here, God bless them, because and maybe they do. I don't think so. I think when the stadium's empty and the fans are done, the fans are done. They were done on the first drive. They're going to be empty seats the next time there is a home game, unless they win like these next two. The next two are road games, right? It's at Washington and at Cleveland, right? Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, and then you
so.
have a game
Unless
with
they're
Dallas
two
after
and
that.
one, that's it's they're going to be empty seats already. I mean, and then I can't imagine by Halloween.
So when
Look at the schedule after Cleveland. It's a disaster. I mean, anyways, I don't think they'll beat Cleveland. Maybe they will, but I
well,
mean,
we'll talk about that as we preview.
yeah.
We get the Washington preview, which we're going to do, and a lot of it though will be basically.
Yeah. Well,
Well, I mean, it's
the discussion on Washington is going to be what version of Daniel Jones is there, and there seems to be only one version right now.
to a degree, but I mean,
They're going to score
overall,
6 points against DC, so they're going to lose.
Overall, well, I can't believe that I'm going to be the optimist out of this group, but in that game, I think they're going to start him. If he starts the way he started this past game, I doubt he plays more than 3 series, and they'll make the switch because they'll know at that point we don't have a choice. You can't go another whole game and then say, okay.
Apparently, you can though. Daniel Jones can do no wrong.
Well, yeah, there is a weirdness there. I do think
I'm morphing into Go Terps.
I do. I think the issue there is I think they thought that he would play a hell of a lot better than he did, and
that's the thing. That's the thing.
But you couldn't play DeVito. You couldn't play DeVito in that game because he was the emergency quarterback. So you would have had But
you had to play a
Locke,
lot. But
I
do
don't think
they?
Locke was healthy though.
But
I
do
don't. I
they know? Do they? The question is this: is do they think they have time? Do they honestly think they have time to tinker around with this? That they do they think that they can survive this, or do they are they dumb enough to still think he's not the problem? And I don't know what answer. Well, I do know what answers were. The worst answer is that they think Daniel Jones is still salvageable. If they think that,
well,
then they don't deserve. They deserve the
if
fate. They deserve the fate that they're going to get because they're not. They're not smart
sure,
men. They're
if
not. I mean,
if did if
everybody in the world knows except the Giants can figure it out. But the other thing is they think they can survive this. I think they're fooling themselves.
well if Datino and Cross do have an ear inside the building and that comes out in their show, I will say they hinted once again. Remember, Jones was injured against the Raiders, only played two
I don't
quarters
care.
during the summer. And I was like, he didn't even play two quarters. I think they two series. Sorry, two
I can't
series.
believe Howard Cross is like this because Howard Cross comes across to me as a no nonsense guy.
Well, he said he talked to some of the former players and they were like, I don't know how these guys play without the kind of practice and the way we've brought that up, but that's not an
We're
excuse for
starting to
Jones.
see, but we're starting to see former players on social media now starting to badmouth the team. And Brandon Jacobs came out and said something. And somebody else came out, and I don't remember it was. But come on, the
But
players know. The
but
players know. I mean,
here's the other thing with that, right? That only matters if you're the only team that's doing that. Every other team in the league is doing it. So you have the same amount
wait,
of
doing
practice
what? Doing what?
practicing the same kind of way, hardly playing
Oh,
during the
yeah.
preseason. Every team's doing it. So it's not like the Giants are the only team that they didn't play their guys during the summer, so that's
Yeah,
why. That's
again,
bullshit. That's
that's
bullshit.
background noise to me right now. Look, the quarterback stinks. Everything else is just moot now. This has been debated on and on. All right. This has been settled. He's. I was scrolling through YouTube videos last night, and up comes again. My wife started laughing. There was a video that came across the screen that said Daniel Jones sucks. That was the name of the YouTube video. And everybody knows it. What are we pretending anymore? I mean, and the players have got to know it. They play the game. I mean,
What did you think? Last thing, and then we'll wrap this up for
yeah,
tonight.
we got to wrap this up.
What
Oh,
did you think of Dexter Lawrence complaining about fans booing?
care. I don't care.
Like, why
This
would you
kind
even
of stuff
bother?
comes up when your team sucks. I've seen it before. I've heard it before.
But why as a leader would you say, like, why would you say that's not really cool or that's not why I would have just been like, well, we didn't play well, so I would have booed too, and leave it at that.
Frustration, I don't know. I mean, look, there have been a number of giant players that have seen their careers wasted here, and Dexter Lawrence is going to be another one unless they bring in somebody next who knows what the hell they're doing. Dexter Lawrence is going to be a really good ball player who sadly was wasted, and so I again, this is a symptom of just the rot that infects this organization right now, and I take no joy in saying that, and I get people emailing me and saying what a scumbag I am because I criticize the Giants about this stuff. I love the Giants. I hate this. This sucks. This is not fun. I saw the beginning of it's weird because I never watch him because I don't enjoy listening to him, but it came up on YouTube too. It was Mike Francesca.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah,
somebody
yeah.
mentioned it, and but I will say, I only watched the first 5 minutes of it because he gets on my nerves. But he was spot on when he said fans have waited all off season. They went through the draft, they went through free agency, they went through camp, and we wait all year for this, and then just right off the bat to get punched in the nuts with this shit. Um, Again, I mean, this is entertainment. This is supposed to be fun, and it's not even competitive. It just
That's the hard part.
there's no
That's the hard part.
hope. That's what I'm
Right.
going to say when there's a PR element to this. Daniel Jones isn't hope. Daniel Jones is, and again, you can feel bad for the guy. Again, $160 million.
Yeah, I don't feel about him
I don't
financially.
feel that badly about, but there's no hope when he's playing, and there's no yeah, I'm not saying the other guys are gonna. The odds are they're going to be just as dreadful, if not worse. And then other people go, "See, they're not any better." But I know what Daniel Jones is. I don't want
Yeah, I
him.
think, yeah,
It's
yeah.
done. I don't. I want to see someone throw to Malik Neighbors down the field. I want to see. I want to see a deep bomb to Hyatt. I want to see Wandale Robinson. I want to see somebody. If he gets picked off, I don't care. If we find out he sucks too, then we really know what we have to do at quarterback. I think we know anyways. But but what we've have found out is that the front office screwed up the quarterback position, and you can't win the NFL without a quarterback.
Yeah,
You just
you can't win
you
without a
can't
leader.
win. So, and on that note, I think we should finish it because
Yeah, so we'll finish it up. Not every show is going to be, not every episode is going to be this bad of this way in terms of this. We are going
it
to look
might
at,
be.
well, what I mean is we're going to try to look ahead a little.
Well, we're gonna have some good guests too, and we're gonna have some
and
good.
unfortunately we might be looking at the draft a lot earlier than we thought.
Well, and we're gonna have people on here that were true giants who won championships and or
And
played with a
well-loved
great
ones
deal of
too.
pride, and
Yeah.
the uniform meant something to them, and not this crap that we're exposed to now. So we can at least live in the past a little bit. So
So with that being said,
yeah,
we're going to call it a close. I appreciate you making it to the end here. We all understand. I will fully admit Jones sucks. There's nothing else we can say about it. It was so depressing to see that game, and I understand how everybody else feels. But for Eric Henny, myself, John McDevitt, thank you for coming into Inside BBI with John Eric, and we'll catch you again in the next episode.
get you later this week.